There comes a moment when the mask we wear begins to suffocate us. The achievements, the distractions, the constant need to be someone in the eyes of others, it all begins to crack. And underneath it, we start to sense something raw and unfiltered, something real. But to meet that part of ourselves, we must first walk through the fire. This video is about that fire. True transformation begins not when we add more to our lives, but when we strip away what no longer belongs. We are not born knowing who we are. We become who we are through pain, conflict, and reflection. And at the heart of that process lies the shadow. The parts of ourselves we've buried, denied, or been taught to reject. The insecurities we disguise, the anger we suppress, the desires we're ashamed to admit. Shadow work isn't about fixing yourself. It's about integrating the truth of who you've always been. But it doesn't stop there. To truly become who you are, you must confront death, not just the fear of your own, but the death of the persona you've clung to for safety. Memento Mori is more than a reminder of mortality. It's a compass. It reveals what truly matters by stripping away what doesn't. When you remember that your time is finite, you stop wasting it trying to be everything to everyone. You start living deliberately, fiercely, and freely. And then comes the rebirth. Existentialism teaches us that identity is not something given, it is forged. You are not here to simply discover yourself, you are here to create yourself, not through performance but through truth. Through the terrifying act of choosing your path, even when the world begs you to follow theirs. This is the art of becoming who you really are. It is not easy. It will demand the death of your illusions, the burial of your false self, and the courage to stand naked in your truth. But on the other side is liberation, not from pain, but from the lie that you must avoid it. What you seek is not out there, it's buried within. This is the path inward, the path home. You're in pain. Maybe not all the time. Maybe not in a way that's easy to name, but it's there, under the noise, under the routine. It creeps in during moments of silence. When the phone's dead, the room is dark, and there's nothing left to distract you. Something inside begins to stir. That tightness in your chest, that dull ache in your gut, that unspoken dread. It's the feeling you try to avoid. You drown it in noise, bury it under screens, drown it in achievement, or dull it with pleasure. You might not even realize it, but every time you scroll, every time you chase the next thing, every time you pretend you're fine when you're not, you're running. From yourself, from the pain you never faced, from the truth that life isn't easy and it was never meant to be. Look around. Everyone's smiling for the camera. Everyone's curating a version of themselves that looks fine, polished, in control. But look a little deeper. Everyone's drowning. In fear, in confusion, in past trauma, in future anxiety, in shame and guilt they never unpacked, you included. It doesn't make you broken, it makes you human. But the lie that's killing you is the one that says you have to fix that pain by escaping it. That if you just push harder, move faster, distract better, you'll finally outrun the thing inside you. You won't, because the truth is, it's not behind you, it's beneath you. It's the foundation of who you are. You're not being haunted by something chasing you, you're being suffocated by something you buried. And what if I told you, the very thing you're running from, the fear, the grief, the loneliness, the regret, what if that is the very thing that could save you? What if everything you've been taught to avoid is actually the path? What if your salvation doesn't come from rising above the pain, but from walking straight through it? That's not a slogan. It's not a feel-good quote. It's a truth that every ancient philosophy has known, every mystic has whispered, every warrior has lived. The only way out is through. This isn't a hack. It's not 5 steps to feel better. There's no shortcut, no cheat code. This is an initiation, a descent, a confrontation. This is a journey into the very heart of your darkness, not to destroy you, but to transform you. Pain is not your enemy. Fear is not your enemy. The avoidance of those things, that's the enemy. That's what keeps you small. That's what keeps you sick. That's what traps you in a life that looks fine on the surface but feels empty when you're alone. This video isn't going to tell you how to avoid the storm. It's going to tell you to walk into it, to feel every part of it, to learn from it, to become something more because of it. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to hide. If you're tired of the mask, if you're tired of running, if something in you is ready, even just barely, then keep watching. Because what's waiting on the other side of the darkness isn't death. It's rebirth. Not who you were, not who you've been pretending to be, but who you really are. Forged, refined, and freed by the fire you tried to avoid. Darkness isn't just the absence of light. It's not just sadness or depression or fear. It's deeper than that. Darkness is the part of your inner world that you try not to look at. It's everything you've pushed away, every wound you never healed, every part of yourself you disowned, every truth you refused to admit. It's the pain you carry in silence, the moments you never told anyone about, the guilt that keeps you up at night, the fear that you'll never be good enough, that you'll be abandoned, that you'll never really be seen or loved for who you are. Darkness isn't some outside force that comes for you in the night. It lives inside you. It's part of you. And until you face it, it controls you in ways you don't even realize. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist and thinker, called this part of us the shadow. The shadow isn't evil. It's not your bad side. It's simply the parts of you that you've hidden, usually because, at some point, you were made to feel that they were unacceptable. Maybe you learned that anger was wrong, so you repressed it. Maybe you were taught to always be strong, so you buried your sadness. Maybe you felt like you had to be perfect to be loved, so you pushed away your flaws. Over time, all of those rejected pieces get locked in a box and shoved into the basement of your psyche. That box is your shadow, and the more you try to ignore it, the more it leaks into your life. Through fear, through anxiety, through overreactions, through addictions, through self-sabotage. You don't get to escape it. You can only decide whether you're going to face it. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." What he meant is that when you don't deal with your darkness, when you don't acknowledge the parts of you that are hurting or hidden, they end up running your life from behind the curtain. You lash out without knowing why. You shrink back when you should speak up. You chase relationships or jobs that hurt you because part of you doesn't believe you deserve better. This is what happens when you live at war with your own inner world. The shadow doesn't disappear because you ignore it. It waits, and it grows. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher and founder of Taoism, spoke of what he called the darkness within darkness. It's that infinite depth beneath all things, the mysterious source of life itself. In his view, darkness isn't just suffering, it's sacred. It's what gives birth to understanding, humility, wisdom. In the Tao Te Ching, he writes, "Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding." That line seems strange at first, but it contains a hidden truth. To truly understand yourself and life, you must be willing to descend. You must be willing to sit in that uncomfortable place without trying to fix it or flee from it. That's where clarity comes from. That's where transformation begins. But our culture doesn't teach us that. It teaches us to fear the dark, to label it as weakness, to medicate it, avoid it, laugh it off, But in trying to eliminate pain, we've forgotten how to learn from it. Pain is not failure. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is information. It's your body, your mind, your soul, trying to tell you something. When your chest tightens in a room full of people, that's not just anxiety. It might be a signal that you're not safe to be yourself. When you feel empty in a job that looks perfect on paper, that's not you being ungrateful. It's your soul begging you to live a life of meaning, not performance. Pain speaks in whispers. The question is, are you willing to listen? Albert Camus, the French philosopher, explored this in a different way. He didn't believe in a universe with a clear divine plan. To him, life was absurd, full of suffering and randomness. But instead of falling into despair, Camus believed that the beauty of life comes because of its absurdity, not in spite of it. If life has no built-in meaning, then we are free to create our own. He writes, "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer." That's not just poetic. That's power. That means that even in your darkest moments, when everything feels pointless, when nothing makes sense, there's still something inside you that refuses to die. Something that knows this darkness isn't the end, it's the beginning. Think of the myths. In every story that has survived the test of time, the hero must descend before they rise. They must go into the underworld, into the cave, into the belly of the beast. Odysseus, Orpheus, Buddha, Jesus, Dante, Luke Skywalker, Neo. It's always the same pattern. Because we instinctively understand that darkness isn't the opposite of the journey, it is the journey. In the words of Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." That's not just metaphor, that's real. The thing you're most afraid to face, the loss, the shame, the truth, is the exact place where your freedom is waiting. You don't grow by avoiding discomfort. You grow by meeting it with open eyes, with presence, with honesty. Darkness, when faced, becomes the teacher that light never could. It humbles you, it deepens you, it shows you what actually matters. It strips away the lies and the noise and the illusions you were clinging to. It burns away the masks, and what's left is real. Not perfect, not painless, but honest. And that honesty with yourself is the ground on which everything else can be rebuilt. To fear your darkness is to fear your own power, because in that place, where the pain lives, where the memories ache, where the grief never got to breathe, is also the place where your strength is hiding. Not surface-level confidence, but real strength. The kind that can sit in silence without needing to escape. The kind that can face a loss and not be shattered by it. The kind that knows who you are even when everything falls apart. Darkness is not punishment, it's initiation. You were never meant to stay there forever, but you do have to pass through it. You do have to enter the cave. And when you do, when you finally face the thing you've been avoiding for years, you realize it wasn't trying to destroy you, it was trying to wake you up. And now you're here, which means maybe, just maybe, you're ready to stop running, ready to turn inward, ready to see what's waiting in that cave. Because once you walk into the darkness, with your eyes wide open, you'll never be the same again. Most of us are experts at running from pain. We don't call it that, of course. We call it staying busy, we call it moving on, we call it productivity, self-improvement, even self-care. But deep down, if we're honest, a lot of what we do each day isn't about healing. It's about distracting ourselves from the things that hurt. And we live in a world that makes it incredibly easy to do that. There's always a screen to stare at, a video to watch, a message to reply to, a notification to chase. Constant stimulation, constant noise, and we confuse that noise for living. But in reality, it's a trap. A carefully designed system to keep us numb. Because if we slowed down for even a second, if we were forced to sit in silence with ourselves, a lot of us wouldn't know what to do. Because the moment it gets quiet, the pain returns, the past comes back, the fear creeps in, and so we run again. We run into work, into parties, into our phones. We run into substances, caffeine, alcohol, weed, pills, sugar. We run into perfectionism, trying to become someone good enough to distract from the feeling that we're not. We run into other people, expecting them to fill the hole inside us that we refuse to look at. But the truth is, you can't fill a wound with noise. You can't outrun something that lives inside you. And the more you try to cover it up, the worse it gets. You may fool the world, but your body remembers. Your heart remembers. The part of you that's in pain never stopped hurting just because you ignored it. It just got buried and festers in the dark. Imagine you cut yourself deeply, and instead of cleaning it, you just slap a bandage over it and pretend it's fine. You go on with your life. From the outside, it looks like it's healing. The bandage hides the wound, but beneath that surface, it's infected. It starts to rot. The infection spreads, and one day, it forces you to stop. It becomes too painful to ignore. Emotional pain works the same way. Every time you numb it instead of feeling it, every time you fake a smile instead of telling the truth, every time you run away instead of staying still, you're sealing an infected wound. You might think you're okay, but that wound will leak into everything, into how you love, how you trust, how you see the world, how you see yourself. And yet the world we live in rewards this avoidance. We're obsessed with comfort, with ease, with convenience. We're constantly told that happiness is the goal, that if something is painful or uncomfortable, it must be wrong, that if you're sad, you need to fix it fast, that if you're angry, you should suppress it, that if you're lost, you need to quickly figure it out. But what if discomfort isn't the enemy? What if it's the guide? What if growth actually requires it? Pain isn't the opposite of healing, it's part of it. But we're so used to numbing ourselves that even a little discomfort feels like too much, and so we stay soft, we stay fragile, we stay dependent on anything that keeps us from feeling the weight of our own lives. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't see pain as something to be avoided, but something to be studied, embraced even. Seneca, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." What he meant was this: it's often not the pain itself that hurts us most. It's the fear of it, the dread, the story we tell ourselves about what might happen, how bad it could get, how we won't survive it. But the pain itself, when we finally face it, it's rarely as terrifying as we imagined, and more often than not, we realize we can handle more than we thought. We realize we're stronger than the fear led us believe. Another core Stoic principle is this: if you avoid pain, you avoid growth. Life will never be free of discomfort. There will be loss, there will be heartbreak, there will be days you don't know who you are or what you're doing. That's part of being alive. But every time you face that pain, every time you let yourself feel what's real instead of running, you grow, you develop depth, you develop resilience, and eventually, you develop wisdom. The kind of wisdom that no book, no podcast, no YouTube video can give you. The kind that's earned in silence, in solitude, in the fire. But let's be honest, avoiding pain works for a while. That's why we keep doing it. You can distract yourself from grief with work. You can numb anxiety with scrolling. You can use validation from others to quiet the voice in your head that says you're not enough. But eventually, those tactics stop working. The distractions lose their shine. The high wears off. The loneliness returns because the wound is still there, still aching, still waiting for you to finally turn toward it and say, I see you, I'm ready. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. Avoided pain becomes buried pain. Buried pain becomes self-hatred, self-doubt, addiction, or depression. It becomes physical illness. It becomes chronic fatigue, burnout, panic attacks. Your body will try to carry the weight, but at some point it will collapse under the pressure. And when that happens, you'll have no choice but to stop. You'll be forced to feel everything you tried not to. And that process, when it happens suddenly, can break a person. That's why it's better to do it on purpose, while you still can. To choose to stop running. To choose to face it before it forces its way into your life. Here's the hard truth. Healing hurts, but avoiding healing hurts more, just slower and longer. There is no way around it, no shortcut, no hack. You can't bypass the pain. You have to go through it. You have to let it wash over you. You have to sit with the tears, with the memories, with the regret. You have to allow yourself to feel. And that's not weakness, that's courage. Real courage isn't pretending to be fine. It's sitting in the dark, shaking, scared, and saying, I'm not running this time. The irony is that once you stop avoiding your pain, it often loses its power. What you feared as a monster in the shadows turns out to be a wounded part of you, asking to be heard, asking to be loved. And by giving it your attention, by facing it, you begin to reclaim your energy. Your focus sharpens, your relationships deepen, your confidence returns. Because now, you're not ruled by what you're avoiding, you're anchored in what you've faced. Avoidance might feel easier, but it steals your life one day at a time. It makes you a stranger to yourself. It keeps you stuck in cycles you don't understand. If you want to change, really change, you have to be willing to feel it all, to stay with the pain, not forever, but long enough to let it teach you what it came to teach. Because once it's done, once you've truly listened, the pain begins to soften, it begins to move, and you begin to heal. Not because you ran away from it, but because you finally walked through it. So the next time you're tempted to numb out, to distract yourself, to pretend you're fine when you're not, pause, just for a moment. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? And if you're brave enough to face the answer, even just a little, you've already started the process. You've already taken the first step through the fire. And that fire, as scary as it is not here to burn you down. It's here to burn away everything that isn't really you. What remains is who you were meant to be. There is a truth that ancient myths, world religions, and deep thinkers across time have all pointed to again and again, that descent, not ascent, is the beginning of real transformation. Before there is clarity, there is confusion. Before light, there is darkness. Before rebirth, there is death. This idea goes against everything we're taught in modern life. Today, we're told that life should be a constant upward climb. More success, more happiness, more comfort, more progress. We celebrate rising up, not falling down. We idolize strength, not vulnerability. But the great spiritual and philosophical traditions saw it differently. They understood that to become whole, to become free, to become who you really are, you must first go down, into the pain, into the confusion, into the parts of yourself you've hidden. Not because you failed, but because this is how true change begins. It starts in the dark. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher often misunderstood as cold or harsh, had a much deeper insight into the human experience than most realize. He introduced the idea of amor fati, which means love of fate, but not just accepting fate, loving it, every part of it. The joy, the heartbreak, the wins, the losses, the boredom, the betrayal, all of it. Amor fati is the refusal to see suffering as a mistake or an interruption. It's the decision to say, this too belongs. The pain I went through wasn't a detour. It was the path. It shaped me. And in some ways, it saved me. Nietzsche didn't believe in numbing pain. He believed in integrating it, in finding strength through it. He wrote, "To live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." That's the descent. Not fighting against your pain, but going deeper into it until it teaches you something essential. Carl Jung took this idea further. He believed that the only way to become whole, to become truly yourself, was by facing your own darkness. He said that people don't become enlightened by imagining light, but by making the darkness conscious. That means looking into your fears, your wounds, your shadow, the parts of yourself you've rejected, and accepting them as part of you. Not to be proud of them, not to indulge them, but to understand them, to take responsibility for them. Because if you don't face those parts of yourself, they control you from behind the scenes. But once you bring them into the light, they lose their power. Jung understood that the descent into the shadow is not a punishment. It's a rite of passage. You have to go through it to grow up. Emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. There is no shortcut to wholeness, only the descent. Buddhism, one of the oldest and most profound spiritual traditions, begins with a simple but powerful truth: life is suffering. The Buddha called it dukkha, the sense that life is unsatisfying, that everything is impermanent, that attachment leads to pain. This doesn't mean life is only suffering, but it means suffering is part of the deal. It's woven into the fabric of existence, and the path to peace isn't found by escaping it. It's found by understanding it, by seeing suffering clearly without resistance or denial. Buddhism teaches that when you stop running from dukkha, when you accept its presence and begin to understand your reactions to it, you begin to wake up. This is why meditation isn't about feeling good. It's about seeing clearly, seeing your own mind, your fears, your cravings, your pain, and no longer being controlled by them. That's the descent. Sitting in silence with what hurts, not fixing it, not avoiding it, just witnessing it, over and over, until the suffering starts to unravel. These ideas from Nietzsche, Jung, Buddhism all point to the same pattern. Before there's healing, there's a descent. Before light, darkness. And this pattern is also written into the myths that have shaped human consciousness for thousands of years. Think of Orpheus, who traveled into the underworld to try to rescue his love, Eurydice. Think of Jesus, who was crucified, buried, and only then resurrected. Think of the Buddha, who sat under the Bodhi tree and faced the full intensity of suffering and illusion before he became enlightened. The hero must go underground. They must descend into the unknown, the uncomfortable, the terrifying. They must lose themselves before they can return changed. This story has survived across cultures not because it's dramatic, but because it's true. It mirrors the inner journey that every human being must face when they decide to stop running and start facing what hurts. Even alchemy, the ancient symbolic tradition of transformation, tells the same story in a different language. Alchemists spoke of turning lead into gold, a metaphor for turning the heavy, dark, unrefined parts of ourselves into something radiant, valuable, transcendent. But lead doesn't become gold through wishful thinking. It requires fire, intense heat, pressure, time. The same is true for the human soul. You don't grow just by reading books or listening to wise words. You grow by passing through the fire of your own life, through heartbreak, through confusion, through failure. And if you let that fire touch you, if you don't run from it, it purifies you. It burns away the ego, the masks, the illusions, and what's left is something real, something alive. The descent doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean falling apart for no reason. It means allowing yourself to go beneath the surface, to stop pretending, to ask the deeper questions. What am I really feeling? What have I been avoiding? What story am I living in? What parts of me have I locked away? These questions aren't comfortable, but they're necessary, because the descent is not about becoming less. It's about becoming more. More honest, more awake, more compassionate, and strangely more free. Because once you've faced the worst parts of yourself, once you've walked through your personal hell and survived, there's not much left to fear. The modern world wants to skip this step. It wants to sell you happiness without discomfort, growth without effort, success without sacrifice. But real change doesn't happen in the light. It happens in the dark, in the messy, painful, unfiltered parts of life. The descent isn't glamorous. It doesn't get applause. It doesn't get likes or followers. But it's sacred. And it's the only way to truly transform. So if you feel like you're falling apart, if you feel lost, confused, broken, maybe you're not failing. Maybe you're descending. Maybe this is your underworld. And maybe, just maybe, it's exactly where you're supposed to be. Because no one climbs out of the dark without first sitting in it. No one rises until they've been broken open. No one becomes whole without first meeting the parts of themselves they've spent a lifetime running from. And once you've descended, once you've gone into the pain with open eyes and an open heart, you'll begin to see the gold hidden in the ashes. Not because the pain goes away instantly, but because now, finally, it has meaning. This is the path. This is the way through. Not around, not over, but through. Down first, then up. That's the philosophy of descent. It's not for everyone. It's not easy. But for those brave enough to take it, it leads somewhere deeper than happiness. It leads to truth. And truth, no matter how painful, will set you free. There's a kind of strength that doesn't come from muscles, power, or even talent. It's the strength that comes from being able to sit in pain and not flinch, to carry grief and still move forward, to face fear and still act. This is what I mean by the warrior mindset. Not some macho idea of domination or control, but a quiet, grounded strength rooted in self-mastery. A warrior doesn't escape pain. A warrior doesn't collapse under it. A warrior walks toward it, into it, and through it, because they know that on the other side of suffering is transformation. They understand that pain isn't the enemy. Fear isn't the enemy. Avoidance is. Weakness isn't feeling broken. Weakness is refusing to feel at all. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome. To the outside world, he was one of the most powerful men alive, a ruler of an empire. But what most people don't know is that his life was filled with pain. He lost many of his children. He ruled during wars, plagues, and betrayal. His days were filled with loss, uncertainty, and suffering. And yet, through all of that, he didn't run from pain. He wrote through it. His meditations, which were never meant to be published, are personal reminders to himself to stay calm, to stay grounded, to meet life with clarity. Again and again, he reminds himself that everything that happens is part of nature, part of the whole, and must be accepted, even welcomed, not passively, but with courage. He writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the heart of the warrior mindset. Mastering what you can, your response, and releasing what you can't. Then there's Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated samurai and legendary swordsman of 17th century Japan. He lived a life of solitude, wandering the land as a ronin, a masterless warrior. He fought over 60 duels and won every single one, not just with skill, but with mental clarity. Musashi wasn't afraid to die. He wasn't afraid to be alone. He wasn't attached to comfort or applause or even identity. In his classic text, The Book of Five Rings, Musashi speaks of embracing death, of walking the path of solitude, of training the mind to be still and sharp like a blade. He said, "The way of the warrior is the resolute acceptance of death, not in a nihilistic way but in a freeing one. When you stop clinging to safety, you become untouchable. When you stop fearing pain, you become free." Musashi understood that the true battle was always internal, against attachment, fear, and ego. To live like a warrior doesn't mean never being afraid. It means not letting fear make your decisions for you. It doesn't mean never hurting. It means not being destroyed by hurt. It's knowing that pain will come, and when it does, you'll be ready. You won't fight it. You'll welcome it like an old teacher returning to test your strength. This is what the Stoics called preparing the mind, not by avoiding suffering, but by training for it. Life isn't gentle, and if you wait for everything to be perfect before you start living, you'll wait forever. A warrior moves forward because life is uncertain, not in spite of it. One of the core Stoic teachings, made popular by Marcus Aurelius and later echoed by modern thinkers like Ryan Holiday, is the idea that the obstacle becomes the way. Whatever stands in your path, pain, loss, failure, is not something to go around. It is the path. Life hands you difficulty not as a punishment, but as a lesson. You wanted to grow in patience. Life gives you someone difficult to deal with. You wanted to become mentally stronger. Life gives you struggle. You wanted to know what really matters. Life strips away everything that doesn't. These obstacles are the training ground, and warriors don't complain about the weight. They get stronger by carrying it. This mindset changes everything, because suddenly suffering isn't something that happens to you. It becomes something that happens for you, not because suffering is good in itself, but because it has the potential to bring something good out of you. Resilience, compassion, perspective, and none of these things can be bought. They can't be taught in a classroom or absorbed through words. They can only be earned in the fire through experience. Suffering doesn't break warriors, it builds them. The only difference between someone who's broken by life and someone who's strengthened by it is how they choose to see their pain, as a curse to escape or as a path to walk. This doesn't mean you become emotionless. It doesn't mean you suppress how you feel. In fact, a warrior feels deeply, but they don't let their emotions take the wheel. They witness them, they sit with them, they learn from them, and then they act with clarity. They're not swayed by every storm that passes through their mind. They learn to be like a mountain, steady, rooted, unmoved by temporary winds. This kind of strength is rare today because we live in a world that encourages reaction over reflection. But warriors choose stillness, not because it's easy, but because it's essential. There's also a deep peace in this mindset. When you stop resisting what you can't control, when you accept that pain is part of life's fabric, you stop wasting energy trying to fight the inevitable. You conserve that energy for what actually matters: showing up, doing the work, being present, loving fiercely, letting go. The warrior doesn't need things to be easy. They don't need life to be fair. They just need the chance to rise to the challenge. And pain, real, honest pain, is always that chance. It's an invitation to grow, to deepen, to awaken. Sometimes people think strength means being hardened, closed off, unreachable. But real strength, the warrior kind, is the opposite. It's open, it's soft enough to feel and strong enough to endure, A warrior can cry without shame. A warrior can feel lost and still keep moving. A warrior knows that life isn't about always winning. It's about always showing up, no matter how many times you fall. That's the kind of strength this world needs more of. Not loud, aggressive force, but grounded, silent courage. If you're going through something painful right now, remember this. It's not the end, it's the forge, the place where something in you is being tempered, where the soft, fragile parts are being tested, not to destroy you, but to make you unshakable. And if you choose to walk through this with your eyes open, not as a victim, not as a coward, but as a warrior, you will come out the other side different, not softer, not colder, but clearer, wiser, more alive. The warrior mindset isn't about conquering the world, it's about conquering yourself, your fear, your doubt, your urge to give up. It's about standing in the storm and knowing you don't need to be rescued. You just need to keep walking. Because every step you take through your pain is a step toward your power. And power, the real kind, is born in the fire. Suffering changes you. That's not a question, it's a fact. The real question is how it changes you. Because pain has two directions. It can make you bitter, or it can make you wise. It can harden your heart, or it can open it. It can break you, or it can wake you up. And the difference between those two outcomes isn't in the pain itself, it's in what you do with it. You don't choose your pain, but you do choose your response. And that response, the way you move through suffering, is what shapes your future. Some people stay in their pain forever. Others rise from it stronger, calmer, and more connected to life than ever before. The difference is transformation. When you stop resisting your suffering and begin to learn from it, it no longer owns you. It refines you. It becomes part of your wisdom. One of the clearest voices on this subject was Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and the author of Man's Search for Meaning. He lost nearly everything, his family, his freedom, his identity, while imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps. Every day was filled with suffering most of us can't even imagine: hunger, torture, death. But in the middle of that hell, Frankl discovered something extraordinary. Even when we are powerless to change our external circumstances, we are never powerless to choose our attitude. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." And that shift, that internal change, is where transformation begins. He saw people who gave up and died, and others who found meaning in serving, comforting, or even just surviving with dignity. He realized that the human spirit isn't just a victim of suffering, it's capable of rising through it. This idea that suffering can lead to meaning is radical in today's world. We are constantly told that pain is a problem to solve or a symptom to treat. But what if suffering is not a mistake? What if it's the soil where strength grows? In psychology, there's a term called post-traumatic growth. It refers to the people who don't just recover from trauma, they actually become better because of it, more compassionate, more focused, more spiritually awake. These people don't return to who they were before the pain. They evolve into someone new, someone deeper. The trauma becomes a turning point, not an end, but a beginning. This is not about glorifying suffering or saying it's good in itself. It's not. Pain hurts. Trauma can be devastating. But the truth is, since you're going to suffer anyway, because suffering is part of life, you might as well learn from it. You might as well let it change you in the right direction. You might as well let it carve something powerful into your character. Because when you do that, the pain doesn't just fade, it gets transformed. It becomes a source of energy, of clarity, of vision. What was once darkness becomes fuel. Darkness metabolized becomes light. I once knew someone, let's call him Daniel, who grew up in an abusive home. From a young age, he learned to shut down his feelings, to stay silent, to survive. He never felt safe, never felt loved for who he really was. As a teenager, he spiraled. Drugs, bad relationships, anger issues. He was running from pain that had been there since childhood. But at some point, when everything fell apart, when he hit rock bottom, he stopped running. He began to face what had happened, slowly, honestly, with the help of books, solitude, therapy, long walks, late-night journaling. It wasn't a clean process, it took years. But over time, he began to see that his trauma didn't have to define him. It could shape him, but on his terms. He didn't forget the pain, he used it. Today, he mentors others who've gone through similar things. He's calm, grounded, wise, not in spite of what he went through, but because of it. This kind of story is more common than you think. People who lose everything and then discover a kind of peace they never had before. People who get sick, only to realize how little they were truly living before. People who face grief and emerge with a greater capacity to love, to listen, to be present. These aren't superhumans. They're ordinary people who chose to face their pain instead of avoiding it, who chose to listen instead of numb. And because of that choice, they were transformed. Think about the people you admire most, the ones who seem wise, grounded, compassionate. Almost always they've been through something, not easy lives, but earned lives. There's a depth in their eyes, a softness in their strength. That's what suffering, fully faced, can give you. Not just pain, but perspective, not just wounds, but wisdom. It's like fire. If you fall into it without preparation, it burns you. But if you learn to work with it, to contain it, to respect it, it becomes a source of heat, of light, of transformation. Pain is that fire. If you deny it, it consumes you. If you hide from it, it follows you. But if you sit with it, if you really allow yourself to feel it, to understand it, to learn from it, it changes you from the inside out. You become someone who doesn't just talk about strength, but embodies it. You don't just pretend to be peaceful, you are peaceful, because you've faced chaos and made peace with it. And here's something most people don't realize. When you've gone through deep pain and you've allowed it to change you, you become a light for others. You become someone who can sit with others in their darkness, not trying to fix them, just being there, just understanding. That's rare, and it's powerful, because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more real people. People who have faced their own darkness and come back with something true. When you stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this teaching me? You take your power back. You stop being a victim and become a student, and later, maybe even a teacher. Not a teacher in a classroom, but a living example of what it means to grow through pain. So if you're suffering right now, know this. It's not the end. It's not meaningless. It's a passage, a sacred one. And if you stay with it, if you resist the urge to escape, to numb, to pretend, you will begin to change. Not quickly, not neatly, but deeply. And that kind of transformation doesn't fade. It stays with you. It becomes you. Pain will visit all of us. That's not optional. But what you do with it, that's where your power lives. You can let it bury you, or you can let it shape you. You can collapse under it, or you can rise through it. And the beautiful, terrifying truth is, that choice is yours, always. So far, we've talked about the pain, the descent, the mindset, and the transformation. But now it's time to ask the real question. How? How do you actually go through the darkness? Not as an idea, not as a metaphor, but as a lived, day-to-day experience. How do you stop running and start facing what's inside you? The truth is, this journey doesn't happen out in the world. It doesn't happen in your job, your relationships, your goals. It happens inwardly. The hardest part of all of this is not dealing with what life throws at you. It's meeting yourself. It's sitting alone, with no distractions, and finally hearing the voice you've been avoiding your entire life. That voice that says, this is what you're really afraid of. This is what still hurts. This is who you really are. The inner journey is not glamorous. It doesn't get applause. It's not a breakthrough you post about. It's quiet, slow, often painful, but it's where all true healing begins. And the first step, the most important one, is radical honesty. You have to be willing to tell yourself the truth, not the story you've repeated for years, not the mask you wear in front of others, but the truth that only you know. The parts of you that feel unworthy, angry, ashamed, afraid. The patterns you keep falling into, the things you blame on others but secretly know come from within. Radical honesty is not about judging yourself, it's about seeing yourself clearly, fully, without filters. One of the most powerful tools for this is journaling. Not as a task, but as a mirror. When you write without censorship, without trying to sound good or be productive, you start to uncover the layers. You begin to hear what your inner self is really saying. You let the pain speak instead of silencing it. Write what hurts. Write what scares you. Write what you don't want anyone else to know. This is how you make the unconscious conscious. This is how you invite the shadow to come forward. Because once it's on the page, it's no longer just haunting you. It's being acknowledged. And what is acknowledged can be healed. Shadow work is the practice of doing exactly that, bringing the hidden parts of yourself into the light. It means looking at the parts of your personality that you've rejected, your jealousy, your neediness, your bitterness, your pride. These are not things to be ashamed of. They are parts of you. And until you accept them, they will keep controlling you in subtle ways. Shadow work doesn't mean becoming perfect. It means becoming whole. And wholeness only comes when you stop dividing yourself into good and bad and start seeing everything as a part of the same human experience. Sometimes, though, you can't do it all alone. This is where therapy comes in. Having someone trained to listen, someone who isn't there to judge or fix but to reflect, can be life-changing. A good therapist doesn't tell you what to do. They help you hear yourself more clearly. They guide you through your own mind, helping you connect the dots you've been missing. Therapy isn't weakness. It's one of the bravest things you can do. To say, I need help facing myself. That's not a failure, that's wisdom. There's also spiritual solitude, time spent intentionally away from the noise of the world. Not to isolate out of fear, but to retreat inward with purpose. Call it monk mode, call it soul searching, call it whatever you want. The idea is the same. Disconnect from distractions so you can reconnect with yourself. This means stepping away from constant stimulation. No mindless scrolling, no background noise, no external validation. It means sitting in stillness and silence, letting your thoughts rise without judgment, letting emotions surface without pushing them down. Most people don't realize how loud their lives are until they finally turn the volume down. And in that quiet, they meet someone they haven't seen in a long time, themselves. Meditation is one way to do this. It's not about becoming Zen or forcing your mind to go blank. It's about noticing. Just noticing your thoughts, your breath, your emotions, letting them come and go like clouds. Over time, this practice builds awareness. You start to see how reactive you are, how repetitive your thinking can be. And in that awareness, you create space. Space to choose a different response. Space to witness pain instead of being consumed by it. Meditation won't fix your problems, but it will show you who you are beneath them. Another essential practice is self-inquiry. It's the art of asking honest questions and sitting with the answers no matter how uncomfortable. Questions like, what am I avoiding? What do I believe about myself? Where did that belief come from? What am I still holding on to that's no longer serving me? What do I fear would happen if I stopped running? You don't need immediate answers. The power is in the asking, because asking these questions begins to break the illusion that you are who the world told you to be, that you are your past, that you are your mistakes. Self-inquiry helps you uncover the truth beneath the conditioning. This journey requires courage, not the kind of courage that fights dragons, but the kind that faces silence, the kind that says, I'm willing to sit with what's real even if it hurts, the kind that doesn't flinch when old wounds surface, because this is how healing happens. Not by rushing through, but by staying with, by not abandoning yourself when things get hard. That's what most of us learn to do as kids, disconnect, dissociate, numb. But now you have the chance to do something different, to stay, to witness, to be the one who doesn't leave. There's a quote that says, to know the world, know yourself. And that's more than philosophy, it's a blueprint. The world is chaos, people will hurt you, plans will fall apart, nothing is fully under your control. But what is under your control is your relationship with yourself. If you don't know yourself, the world will confuse you. Every failure will feel like a verdict. Every heartbreak will feel like proof that you're not enough. But when you know yourself, deeply, truly, you stop needing the world to validate you. You stop letting pain define you. You become solid, not because the storm ends, but because you found the calm inside it. Facing yourself is the bravest act. It's also the most necessary, because without that, nothing else lasts. Success, relationships, personal growth, none of it matters if you're still a stranger to your own soul. The inner journey doesn't promise quick results. It doesn't give you guarantees, but it does give you you, the real you. The one who's been buried under roles, expectations, distractions, and fear. And once you begin to uncover that, to walk through the darkness with eyes wide open, you start to realize something. There's nothing more powerful than someone who's faced their own shadow and lived to tell the story. So take the step, turn inward, sit in silence, write the ugly truths, ask the hard questions, let go of distractions, let the pain speak, and listen. Not to judge, but to understand, because that voice inside you, the one you've been afraid of, it doesn't want to destroy you, it wants to lead you home. So you've gone through the darkness, you've sat with the pain, felt the grief, faced the fear, and walked through the fire instead of running from it. Now what? What happens after the storm? This is the part no one talks about enough. The part after the suffering, after the descent, after the heavy silence, the part where something new begins to emerge. It doesn't always come with a lightning bolt or a dramatic breakthrough. Sometimes it comes quietly, slowly, in tiny moments that whisper, "You're not who you used to be." This is rebirth, not a return to how things were, but a transformation into someone new, someone truer, someone deeper. Rebirth isn't about forgetting what you went through. It's not about erasing the scars or pretending it didn't happen. It's about becoming because of what happened. There's a reason why almost every ancient culture has some version of the phoenix, the mythical bird that dies in flames and is born again from its own ashes. The phoenix doesn't survive by avoiding the fire, it becomes something new through it. That's not just mythology, it's psychology, it's spirituality, it's real. Because if you go all the way through the darkness and don't quit, don't numb, don't lose yourself, something in you starts to shift. You're no longer just reacting to life, you're creating from it. You're no longer defined by what happened to you, you're defined by what you did with it. This is where meaning starts to form, not as an answer written in the sky, but as a quiet knowing in your heart. This wasn't for nothing. Maybe you went through that loss so you could learn to truly cherish love. Maybe you broke down so you could finally break open. Maybe you walked alone so you could meet the version of you that no one else could give you. Viktor Frankl said that when we can no longer change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. But once we do, once we really change, something else happens. We begin to create meaning from the suffering. Meaning doesn't erase the pain, but it gives it shape. It gives it weight that can be carried. It turns chaos into clarity. And that meaning, even if it's just for you, even if no one else sees it, is sacred. You might look back at who you were before all of this and feel like a stranger. That's okay. You're not supposed to be the same. Growth isn't about upgrading yourself into a better version. It's about burning away the false layers and remembering who you were beneath them. Who you were before the world told you to be someone else, before trauma shaped your personality, before fear dictated your choices. And when you come out of the dark, when you begin to feel joy again, or purpose, or even just peace, it's not the old version of you returning. It's a new one arriving, one that knows what it costs to fall apart, and what it takes to rise again. The poet Rumi wrote, "The wound is where the light enters you," and it's true. The same place where you hurt the most, the loss, the betrayal, the failure, is often the same place where your deepest wisdom is born. It's where your heart breaks open, and something softer, more human, more connected begins to shine through. Before the pain, maybe you were driven or successful or confident. But after the pain, if you faced it, you become something more, compassionate. You stop judging others so quickly, you listen more. You understand suffering when you see it, not just because you've read about it, but because you've lived it. That's not weakness, that's strength, real strength. Because it doesn't push people away, it brings them closer. And that's the beauty of this journey. At first, it feels like everything is being taken from you. But later, sometimes much later, you realize something was being given to you all along. A kind of presence, a kind of clarity, a kind of peace that doesn't depend on anything outside of you. You start to feel more grounded in who you are, less shaken by other people's opinions, less caught in chasing things that don't matter. You realize that silence isn't something to fear anymore. It's a place where you feel at home. That's rebirth. Not a return to comfort, but a discovery of depth. People will look at you and maybe they won't understand. They'll see someone who's been through a lot, maybe someone quieter than before, maybe someone with sharper eyes. What they won't always see is what you gained in the dark, and that's okay. Because this journey wasn't for them, it was for you. You don't need to prove your healing to anyone. You don't need to explain your scars. The fact that you're still here, breathing, growing, becoming, that's enough. You're not a victim anymore. You're not stuck in the story of what hurt you. You're becoming someone new, someone powerful and awake, awake to your own patterns, awake to what matters, awake to the truth that this life, no matter how painful, is still yours. And that's the ultimate meaning, to know that even in the face of darkness, you have the power to choose how you walk through it, to carry your past not as a weight, but as a compass, to love more deeply because you've known loss, to give more freely because you've once had nothing, to shine more brightly because you've touched the dark. Rebirth doesn't mean your problems are over. Life will still test you, pain will still come, but now you're different. Now you've built something inside that can't be broken as easily. Now you know how to sit with yourself instead of abandoning yourself. Now you've proven to yourself that you can survive what once felt impossible. and more than survive, you can grow from it. This is what makes you powerful. Not your achievements, not your image, but your ability to walk through hell and come back with your heart still open. That's what real transformation looks like. And now, with everything you've faced, everything you've learned, everything you've let go of, you're finally ready to live. Not just exist, not just chase, but live with meaning, with purpose, with depth. So what do you do now? You take all of this, all of the darkness you've walked through, all of the truth you've uncovered, and you carry it with grace. You use it to build a life that's not based on fear, but on honesty. A life that's not about escaping pain, but embracing the full experience of being human. And when the next storm comes, and it will, you'll meet it differently. You won't run, you'll stand in it. And maybe you'll even welcome it. Because now you know, the only way out is through. And on the other side, there's not just survival, there's rebirth. If today was your last day, would you be proud of how you lived? It's a simple question, but it cuts deeper than most people are ready for. We scroll, we rush, we stress, we plan for next week, next month, next year, assuming there will always be a later. We act like life is a rehearsal, like the main performance hasn't started yet. But here's the truth. This is it. No second take, no guaranteed tomorrow, and that's where our story begins. There's an ancient Latin phrase that whispers through history like a ghost at your shoulder. Memento Mori. It means remember you will die, not in a morbid or depressing way, but as a reminder, a wake-up call, a philosophical alarm clock ringing through time, urging us to stop sleepwalking through life. For the Stoics of ancient Rome, this wasn't something to fear, it was something to carry. They would meditate on death daily, not to dwell on fear, but to sharpen their focus, to live more fully, more honestly. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." And yet look around. Most people live like they'll live forever. We obsess over trivial problems, chase meaningless validation, drown in distractions that numb us from the truth. We're always too busy to call a loved one, to reflect on our path, to confront the life we're actually living. We treat time like an unlimited balance in a bank account, but every second that passes is one you never get back. Time is not a resource, it's your life being spent. Here's the real question this video will explore. How do we live fully while knowing we will die? How do we live in a way that feels urgent, meaningful, and true, without becoming anxious or overwhelmed by the weight of mortality? The answer lies not just in ancient wisdom, but in the fire of modern reflection. It lies in the teachings of the Stoics, in the raw honesty of existential philosophers like Sartre and Camus, in the fierce presence of Japanese samurai warriors who trained every day as if it were their last. It lies in stories of people who faced death, and because of that, learned how to truly live. This isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a practical one. It affects how you spend today. It challenges what you value. It forces you to look in the mirror and ask, am I actually living or just existing? Because the uncomfortable truth is that most people won't realize what matters until it's too late. But you don't have to be most people. We're going to take a deep dive into what it means to live like it's your last day before it really is. We'll walk through the timeless practices of the Stoics. We'll confront the existential dread and freedom that comes with accepting your mortality. We'll look at how warriors, mystics, and survivors across cultures have embraced death as a tool for clarity. And we'll walk away not with fear, but with power. The kind of power that comes from knowing you don't have forever and choosing to live like it matters. To understand how to live fully, we must begin by looking death directly in the eyes. Not as something far away or abstract, but as something close, real, and inevitable. For thousands of years, the wisest among us, philosophers, monks, warriors, poets, have said the same thing in different ways. If you want to live well, you must remember that you will die. This isn't about fear, it's about clarity. When we forget death, we forget how to live. But when we remember it, not occasionally but regularly, it sharpens everything. The Stoics of ancient Rome knew this well. They weren't obsessed with death in a dark or depressing way. They simply believed that death was the great equalizer, the one truth you could count on. Seneca, the Roman statesman and philosopher, wrote that, "Life is long if you know how to use it." He didn't mean you needed to live to 90 or 100. He meant that a life lived intentionally, even if short, could be more complete than a long life wasted in distraction. Seneca advised people to keep death in mind, not to scare them, but to help them filter out what doesn't matter. When you know your time is limited, you stop wasting it on things that don't add value. Petty arguments, material obsession, chasing other people's approval. Epictetus, another great Stoic thinker, was born a slave and eventually became one of the most respected teachers of philosophy. He taught that we should never take anything for granted, not our relationships, not our health, not even the next morning. He would tell his students to look at their loved ones and remind themselves, they are mortal, they can be taken away. This wasn't meant to create anxiety, it was meant to create gratitude. If you knew your time with someone was short, wouldn't you speak to them with more love? Wouldn't you be more present? The Stoics saw death not as the enemy of life, but as its teacher. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled an empire by day and wrote to himself by candlelight at night, put it simply, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." He wrote this not as a poet, but as a soldier, as someone who had seen war, disease, betrayal, and pain. He knew death could come for anyone at any moment, so he urged himself to live with virtue, to be kind, to do the right thing even when it was hard, because nothing else really lasts. He believed that if we always remembered the fragile, temporary nature of life, we would stop getting distracted by what doesn't matter and focus instead on living with integrity. But the Stoics weren't the only ones who thought this way. Thousands of miles away, in ancient India, and later across East Asia, Buddhism developed its own version of Memento Mori. In Buddhism, there is a concept called anicca, which means impermanence. Nothing in this world lasts. Everything is in a constant state of change. This includes your body, your relationships, your success, your struggles. Buddhist monks often meditate on death, not to be morbid, but to gain perspective. Some traditions go as far as meditating in cemeteries or visualizing their own bodies decaying. This is not meant to disgust, it is meant to liberate. When you see that everything is passing, you stop clinging, you let go, and in letting go, you find peace. Zen Buddhism, in particular, encourages a practice of constant awareness of death. The samurai of Japan, deeply influenced by Zen thought, would begin each day with the thought, "Today I may die," not as a depressing thought, but as a spiritual compass. If today is your last, how would you act? How would you speak? What would you make time for? And what would you no longer tolerate? This mindset created a kind of laser-focused presence, a calm alertness that allowed warriors to face battle without fear and monks to face stillness without resistance. Moving to the modern era, we find similar ideas in existentialism, a school of thought that emerged in the 19th and 20th centuries. Unlike the Stoics or Buddhists, the existentialists didn't believe in a cosmic order or universal meaning. They believed the universe was silent, that life by default is absurd, but that's where it gets interesting. Because in that silence, they argued, lies our greatest freedom. Martin Heidegger, a German philosopher, introduced the concept of being toward death. He believed that we spend much of our lives in what he called inauthentic living, going through the motions, absorbed in routines, numbed by distractions. But when we become truly aware that we are going to die, it shocks us into authenticity. It makes us ask the hard questions. What am I doing here? What do I want this life to mean? What really matters? For Heidegger, death wasn't just the end, it was the mirror that reflects our deepest truths. Jean-Paul Sartre took it further. He said that life has no built-in meaning, but that we have the power and the responsibility to create it. And what forces us to take that responsibility seriously? The fact that one day this will all end, there is no escaping it, so we must choose. What will we stand for? What will we commit to? The pressure of death is not a weight that crushes, it's a fire that forges. Albert Camus, another existentialist, famously described life as absurd. Imagine a man pushing a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down, again and again. That's life. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow a neat script. But Camus argued that even in that absurdity, we can find meaning. If we accept the absurd, instead of fighting it, we become free. Death, in this case, is the ultimate absurdity and the ultimate invitation to embrace life on our own terms. So whether we look to the Stoics, the Buddhists, the samurai, or the existentialists, we find one thread that runs through them all. Death makes life urgent. It forces us to stop waiting, to stop postponing what matters, to stop assuming we have all the time in the world. When you really let that idea sink in, not just intellectually, but emotionally, it changes you. It strips away the illusion of permanence. It clears the fog of pettiness and distraction, and what's left is clarity, that the moments we have are all we ever get, and they deserve our full attention. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. But if you live with the awareness that your time is limited, you'll start making better decisions. You'll speak more honestly. You'll take more risks, not reckless ones, but the kind that align with your soul. You'll stop caring so much about how others see you and care more about whether you're proud of who you are. And slowly, you'll start to feel something rare. Peace. Not because life is easy, but because it's real, and you're finally living it with your eyes wide open. One of the greatest lies we tell ourselves, quietly without even realizing it, is that we'll start living later. Later, when things calm down. Later, when we're older or more stable or more successful. We tell ourselves that the real living will begin once we finish school, or get the job, or find the relationship, or earn enough money to finally relax. But somehow, later never comes. The present keeps slipping by, one unnoticed moment at a time, while we stay trapped in a mindset that always delays, always defers. This is the illusion of time, the false belief that we have more of it than we actually do. Most people live in what could be called someday mode, It's the default setting of modern life. We assume we have decades ahead of us. We assume we'll get around to the important stuff eventually. Fixing our habits, mending that broken relationship, writing the book, pursuing the passion, saying what really needs to be said. We push these things into the future as if it's a storage closet that can hold anything we don't want to deal with right now. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The future doesn't exist. It's always an idea, a projection. The only thing that's ever actually real is now. And if we're not careful, we'll waste now over and over again until there's no time left to waste. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote a famous essay called On the Shortness of Life. And in it, he makes a bold claim. Life isn't actually short, we just waste a lot of it. He says, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, if it is well spent." Think about that. He's not blaming fate or biology or tragedy. He's pointing the finger directly at us, at how we use our time. And when you really stop and look at how most people spend their days, it becomes painfully clear. Seneca was right. We spend enormous amounts of time on things that don't matter, scrolling endlessly on our phones, consuming content we barely remember, obsessing over what others think of us, comparing ourselves to strangers, clicking through highlight reels of people we'll never meet. We drown in distraction, and the danger of distraction isn't just that it wastes time, it's that it feels like time well spent. That's what makes it so seductive. You think you're relaxing, you think you're staying informed or entertained or inspired, but in truth, much of it is a form of escape, an escape from discomfort, from silence, from self-reflection. Distraction has become our default. And once it becomes normal, we stop noticing what it's taking from us. It takes our mornings, our evenings, our attention, our energy. It makes it hard to be alone with our thoughts. It makes it hard to go deep into anything meaningful. And most dangerously, it makes us forget that our time is limited. Because when you're distracted, time flies. Hours disappear. Days blur together. You reach the end of a week and wonder where it went. But the real question is, what did you do with it? We've become so used to postponing life that we don't even recognize we're doing it. We say, I'll start that project when I have more time. I'll travel when I retire. I'll get in shape when work slows down. I'll call them tomorrow. But what if there is no tomorrow? What if this week, this season, this year is all you get? This isn't fear-mongering. This is the lens of truth, a reminder that the clock is always ticking, whether we look at it or not. And every time we delay living, we're trading what's real for what's imaginary. We're choosing fantasy over presence. There's something deeply tragic about how many people sleepwalk through life, numbed by the illusion that there will always be more time. It's not that they're bad people, it's that they've been taught, subtly and constantly, that urgency is for emergencies, that life can be put on hold until the right time arrives. But the truth is, the right time doesn't come. You create it. You make the moment right by showing up for it fully. By deciding that this moment matters, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. There's a concept I call present tense urgency. It's not panic, it's not rushing through life, it's not about doing everything fast, it's about doing the right things now, with intention, with presence. It's the opposite of delay, it's the opposite of distraction. It's looking at your time as sacred because it is. It's remembering that your attention is one of the most valuable things you own, and wherever you give it, your life will follow. When you understand this, you stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for clarity. You stop needing perfect conditions. You start acting. You have the conversation. You take the step. You build the habit. You write the first page. You walk into the gym, even if it's been years. You say, I love you. You say, I'm sorry. You say enough. because the illusion of time no longer controls you. You've seen through it, and once you've seen through it, you can't go back. The future is a fantasy. That's not to say we shouldn't plan or set goals or dream big. It means that all those things still have to be built from the present, from today, from the choices you make with the next hour of your life. You don't have to wait until you're on your deathbed to start living like your time matters. You can start now. Right here in the middle of an ordinary day, you can remember the truth. This moment is all you have, and that's not something to fear. It's something to treasure. If you can hold that truth in your heart, everything changes. Your conversations deepen, your focus sharpens, your appreciation for the little things, the sun on your face, the sound of someone laughing, the quiet of early morning, grows stronger. You stop running through life, and you start inhabiting it. That's what makes the illusion of time so dangerous. Not that it lies to us, but that it steals what's most real. And the only way to beat it is to live fully and deliberately while you still can. Most people don't really fear death. What they actually fear is dying without having truly lived. They fear reaching the end of their life and realizing they spent too much time pleasing others, chasing meaningless goals, or putting off what they knew in their heart mattered most. Death, in itself, is natural. It's part of the same cycle that gave us life. But what makes it terrifying isn't the end. It's the thought that we might reach that end feeling incomplete, that we might have wasted the one life we were given. This is why some of the greatest minds in history have said that the key to living well is to make peace with death before it arrives. To face it head on, not to obsess or despair, but to strip away the fear it holds over us. Because when we avoid thinking about death, it doesn't go away, it only grows stronger in the background. It shapes our choices, it drives our anxiety, it lurks beneath our surface-level worries. But when we face it openly and regularly, something incredible happens. It loses its power over us, and in its place, we find clarity, courage, and depth. One of the most powerful tools for this is death meditation, a practice that has existed across many cultures and philosophies. The Stoics would begin their day by reminding themselves that they might not live to see the end of it. This wasn't depressing to them, it was energizing. It helped them focus on what actually mattered and let go of petty distractions. Imagine waking up and thinking, today could be my last. How would that change the way you speak to the people you love? How would it affect your decisions, your attitude, your awareness? That's the point of the practice. It's not to make you live in fear, but to wake you up. Buddhist traditions also include a form of death meditation, sometimes even visualizing your own body decaying. In some monastic practices, monks visit cremation grounds to observe bodies being burned. It sounds intense, but the purpose is profound. These meditations are not meant to traumatize, they're meant to free the mind from illusion. By confronting the physical reality of death, we detach from the ego's obsession with permanence. We realize the body is temporary, and in that realization, we begin to see what is not temporary: our actions, our impact, our presence. Even something as simple as journaling about death can be powerful. You don't have to write anything poetic or complicated. Just answer one question each morning. If I died tonight, what would I wish I had done today? This small practice can reshape your entire perspective. It doesn't mean living recklessly or trying to cram everything into one day. It means living meaningfully, doing what aligns with your core, even if it's small. Maybe that means saying no to something you don't believe in. Maybe it means spending time with someone you love. Maybe it means finally beginning that thing you've been putting off for years. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Think about that. He wasn't afraid of the end. He was afraid of never truly starting, of coasting through life on autopilot, of hiding behind excuses, of letting fear of judgment, failure, or uncertainty stop him from becoming the person he knew he could be. That quote challenges us to stop fearing what we can't control, death, and start fearing what is in our control, whether or not we're actually showing up to life. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, had a deeply insightful view of death as well. He believed that confronting death is not just an emotional necessity, it's a vital part of becoming whole. In Jung's view, our psychological growth depends on something called individuation, the process of integrating all parts of ourselves, our desires, fears, shadows, and potential. But this process can't be completed if we live in denial of death. According to Jung, the ego, our sense of individual identity, must come to terms with the fact that it too will end. Only then can we access deeper, more authentic layers of the self. In other words, the fear of death isn't just about death, it's about identity. It's about letting go of the false self, the persona we perform for others, and finding what's underneath. When we dig deeper, we find that the fear of death often masks something more specific, the fear of unrealized life, the fear that we've ignored our calling, that we've suppressed the truth about who we are, that we've stayed small because it was comfortable. This is the real root of death anxiety, not the end itself, but the regret of never really showing up, of dying with your best ideas unwritten, your deepest feelings unspoken, your boldest steps untaken. That's what keeps people awake at night, not the final breath, but the fear that they'll arrive there full of what-ifs. And yet, once you bring that fear into the light, it stops controlling you. When you stop running from death, you start running toward life. You begin to make decisions from a place of inner alignment instead of fear. You start living as if each day counts, because it does. You start speaking your truth, not because you have to, but because you no longer want to waste time being anything less than fully honest. You stop needing to win every argument or impress every person, because you realize how temporary it all is. That's the beauty of confronting death. It puts everything into perspective. There's a strange paradox here. The people who think about death the most, who actually meditate on it, reflect on it, write about it, tend to be the most alive. They walk through life with a deeper appreciation. They listen more closely. They love more freely. They let go of grudges more quickly. They don't waste time pretending to be someone they're not. They've accepted that death is part of life, and in doing so, they've unlocked a kind of freedom that most people never touch. Making peace with death doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming passive or resigned. It means understanding the rules of the game, that you don't get to control how long you're here, but you do get to control how you show up. You get to choose whether you live in denial or in truth, whether you numb yourself or wake up, whether you run from death or let it be the compass that guides you to what matters most. This doesn't happen all at once. It's a practice. Some days you'll forget. Some days you'll slip back into distraction or fear. That's okay. The goal isn't to become fearless, it's to become conscious, to stay aware, to keep remembering. Memento Mori isn't a one-time insight, it's a way of seeing, a way of returning over and over again to the simple but life-changing truth. You will die, and because of that, you must live. So light a candle, write the words, look at your life and ask yourself, what am I afraid to face? And then face it, not because you're ready, but because it's real, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way to be free. At some point, every honest person has to look life in the face and admit something uncomfortable. This world doesn't come with clear instructions. There's no fixed blueprint, no ultimate manual that tells you exactly why you're here, what you're supposed to do, or how you're supposed to find meaning. For many people, this realization is terrifying. It feels like falling into a void. But for the existential philosophers, Nietzsche, Sartre, Camus, and later Viktor Frankl, this was not a reason to despair. It was a reason to wake up, to take responsibility, to stop waiting and start creating. Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This is one of the most important ideas in all of philosophy. What he meant is that suffering, pain, uncertainty, all of that becomes bearable if you have a clear reason for being. If you have a purpose that's real to you, then even the darkest seasons of life won't destroy you. You'll endure. You'll adapt. You'll keep going because there's something worth enduring for. Nietzsche's message wasn't soft or comforting. It was a challenge. He believed that life was difficult by nature, and that greatness was only possible for those who chose to rise above comfort and find meaning through strength, vision, and will. But what if there is no objective meaning? What if life, as some say, is absurd? That's where Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus come in. For Sartre, life doesn't come pre-packaged with meaning. You're not born with a cosmic mission stamped on your soul. Instead, he believed in radical freedom. You're free to create your own meaning, your own purpose, your own identity. That sounds exciting at first, but it also comes with a heavy burden. Because if life has no built-in meaning, then you can't hide behind fate or destiny or the rules of society. You can't blame anyone else for how your life turns out. You have to own it. Every choice, every belief, every action, it's yours. Camus took this even further with his idea of the absurd. He described human existence as this strange, almost comical condition. We search endlessly for meaning in a universe that gives us none. We ask deep questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What does it all mean? And the universe answers with silence. Camus didn't sugarcoat this reality, but he also didn't say, give up. He said the opposite. He said we must rebel, not against others, but against the void. And how do we rebel? By choosing to live with full awareness. By creating our own purpose, even if the universe remains silent. He compared this to the myth of Sisyphus, a man condemned to push a boulder up a hill forever, only for it to roll back down. Camus said, we must imagine Sisyphus as happy, because in choosing to keep pushing, Sisyphus owns his fate. He becomes free. These ideas laid the foundation for what Viktor Frankl later called logotherapy. Frankl was a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. He lost his entire family in Nazi concentration camps. He experienced suffering on a level most of us can barely imagine. And yet, out of that suffering, he wrote one of the most powerful books of the 20th century, Man's Search for Meaning. In it, he explains that human beings are not driven by pleasure or power as much as they are driven by purpose. Without a clear sense of why, people fall into despair, but with a strong why, they can survive almost anything. Frankl saw this in the camps. Those who had a reason to live, a loved one waiting for them, a book they needed to write, a cause they believed in, had a much higher chance of surviving than those who didn't. The key idea in logotherapy is this: meaning is not something you wait for, it's something you make. Life doesn't owe you purpose, it's your job to create it. And that creation happens not in comfort, but in the moments when you're tested, when you suffer, when you lose, when life doesn't go according to plan. That's where the opportunity lies. The opportunity to ask yourself, what does this mean to me? What can I build from this? Who can I become because of this? There are countless examples of people who've changed their lives after facing death. People who, through illness, accident, or loss, were forced to confront their mortality and use that confrontation to transform. One man survives a heart attack and realizes he's been working a job he hates for 20 years just to impress people who don't care about him. He quits, starts writing, and finally feels alive. A woman loses her child, and in the depths of her grief, creates a foundation to help other families in pain. A teenager diagnosed with terminal cancer starts filming videos to inspire others, not out of denial, but out of a desire to leave something meaningful behind. These people didn't wait for life to give them a mission. They took what life gave them, good or bad, and made it matter. That's the existential response. You don't get to control the hand you're dealt, but you do control what you do with it. You control how you interpret your experiences. You control the story you tell about your pain, your struggles, your journey. And that brings us to a simple but powerful truth. You can't wait for life to hand you meaning. You have to go out and build it. It doesn't need to be grand or heroic. Your meaning doesn't have to be something the world celebrates. It just has to be true. Maybe it's raising a child with love. Maybe it's creating art that expresses your soul. Maybe it's helping others heal from wounds you've known yourself. Or maybe it's just choosing to show up every day, fully and honestly, in a world that constantly asks you to be fake. That alone is a rebellion worth living for. There is no formula, no final answer, just this moment and the choice you make in it. You can choose to drift, to delay, to hope that one day it will all click. Or you can choose to commit to a path, to a practice, to a purpose that resonates deeply within you. And once you do, something incredible happens. Fear starts to fade, not because the world gets easier, but because you've anchored yourself in something real. The existentialists didn't deny that life is hard. They just believed that we are strong enough to shape it anyway. To take the chaos, the absurdity, the uncertainty, and turn it into something meaningful. Not because we have to, but because we can. And that's the real power. To look life in the face, with all its pain and imperfection, and say, I choose to live on my terms. So ask yourself, what's your why? What matters enough to suffer for? What's the thing you'd regret never doing, never saying, never becoming? If you don't know yet, that's okay. Start small. Pay attention to what moves you, what angers you, what lights you up. That's where meaning lives, not in the abstract, but in your everyday attention. And then act. Don't wait for the world to explain itself. Make the meaning, live the meaning, and in doing so, you'll no longer fear the end, because you'll be too busy living a life that actually feels like yours. Knowing that you will die changes how you think, but living like you will die, that changes everything. It's one thing to reflect on death as a concept, to sit with it intellectually, to acknowledge it from a distance. It's another thing entirely to practice that awareness every day, not out of fear, but as a form of focus. This is where the idea of urgent living comes into play. It's not about rushing or panicking. It's not about cramming your schedule or living in constant anxiety. It's about choosing to live with deliberate intensity, a kind of quiet urgency that says, today matters, this moment matters, let's not waste it. Urgent living begins in the morning. Before the noise, before the emails, before the news, before you lose yourself in a to-do list you didn't even choose. Start your day with a question that most people are too afraid to ask. What if I die today? Not as a dramatic exaggeration, but as a genuine prompt. You don't know how long you have, none of us do. So ask, if this was my last day, how would I want to show up? What would I want to say? What kind of presence would I want to carry through the world? This question alone can rewire your thinking. It immediately clears the clutter from your mind and puts your attention where it belongs, on what's real. Write it down. Make it a habit. On a blank page every morning, scribble the sentence, I may die today. How do I want to live? Then answer it. Some days it might be simple. I want to be kind to my partner. Or, I want to finish that project that matters. Or maybe I just want to slow down and be present with my child. The answers don't need to be profound, they just need to be honest. And what you'll start to notice over time is that this tiny act of morning reflection slowly begins to shape your choices. You'll find yourself saying no to things that don't align. You'll stop giving so much energy to meaningless drama. You'll feel a subtle pull toward what's true. Another powerful exercise is to visualize your own funeral. Not in a morbid way, but in a reflective way. Sit for a few minutes, close your eyes, and imagine the people you love standing in a room speaking about the life you lived. What would they say? What would you want them to say? That you were always busy? That you had nice things? That you never made time for them? Or would you want to be remembered as someone who showed up, who cared deeply, who took risks, who lived in alignment with something meaningful? This practice isn't about shame, it's about clarity. It brings into sharp focus what you value and what you've been neglecting. Maybe there's a phone call you've been avoiding, a project you keep postponing, a truth you're afraid to speak. Let the vision of your legacy pull you toward action, not because you're trying to impress others, but because you don't want to die with important things left unsaid or undone. Urgent living also means reordering your priorities, not according to urgency in the traditional sense, but according to essence. Most people live reactive lives. They respond to whatever is loudest, most convenient, or most demanding. But urgent living is about flipping that on its head. It means putting first things first. Real relationships over shallow connections. Deep work over constant busyness. Reflection over distraction. Presence over performance. Ask yourself, what in your daily routine is actually meaningful, not just productive, meaningful? The conversations where you feel fully seen, the work that challenges you and stretches your soul, the quiet moments of solitude where you remember who you are. These are the things that should define your day, not just chores, not just obligations, not just notifications. When you live with the awareness of death, you begin to see that so much of what fills your calendar is just noise. And when you cut through that noise, what remains is your life, stripped down, honest, essential. And that means you must be willing to let some things go. That's part of the practice too. You can't live with urgency if your life is full of dead weight. Start identifying the time wasters, the activities, habits, and even relationships that drain your energy and pull you away from what really matters. This isn't about being cold or ruthless, it's about being honest. Not every connection in your life is meant to last forever. Some people, some patterns, some routines, they belong to an older version of you. And if you want to live fully now, you have to release what's no longer aligned with the person you're becoming. Think about emotional drama. How much time do we spend rehashing the past, holding grudges, getting caught in cycles of resentment or comparison? What if you could use that time differently? What if you could take that energy and put it toward healing, creating, building, or simply being? Urgent living doesn't mean you rush through emotions. It means you stop feeding the ones that keep you stuck. You process them, feel them, learn from them, and then you move forward. Because life is too short to live inside your own mental cage. One of the most misunderstood parts of urgency is that people assume it means rushing, but real urgency is still, it's quiet, It's calm, it's deliberate, it doesn't panic, it prioritizes. Think of a surgeon in an emergency. They don't freak out, they slow down, they focus. That's what inner urgency looks like. It's a kind of steady presence that says, this matters, I'm not going to waste it. You can live this way, not frantic, not chaotic, but fully awake. You don't need to cram your life with experiences, you just need to be fully there for the ones that count. You can begin building this kind of life right now. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a simple system of reflection, decision, and presence. Every morning reflect, how do I want to live today? Every day decide, what truly matters right now? And in every moment, ask yourself, am I here or am I elsewhere? That's it. That's the foundation of urgent living, not perfection, just presence. This kind of lifestyle takes courage, because the world will constantly try to pull you away from it. There will always be another distraction, another demand, another voice telling you to wait, to settle, to blend in. But if you live by the awareness that you will die, you no longer have the luxury of delay. You stop living on default, you stop floating, you start choosing, and over time, those choices become your life. A life you can be proud of. A life you didn't sleepwalk through. A life defined not by how long it lasted, but by how deeply it was lived. So take a breath right now and ask yourself, what matters most? What's been waiting for your full attention? What are you ready to let go of? What are you finally ready to do? The answers are already inside you. All you have to do is stop waiting for the right time. Because the right time isn't coming. This is the time, this moment, this heartbeat, this breath. Sometimes it takes a brush with death to finally wake up to life. As strange as it sounds, people often begin to live more fully only after being reminded, forcefully, unavoidably, that their time is limited. While most people try to ignore the reality of mortality, those who confront it often experience something profound. They gain clarity. They see what matters and what doesn't. They let go of their fear and ego. They don't waste time pretending anymore. And they begin to build lives that are meaningful, not just impressive. This isn't theory, it's something we can see in countless real stories of people who turned their lives around by facing death head-on. Take Steve Jobs, for example, a man who revolutionized technology and business, but also someone who thought deeply about mortality. In his famous 2005 Stanford commencement speech, he said, "Remembering I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life." He went on to explain how this thought helped him avoid the trap of thinking he had something to lose. Because when you truly accept that you will die, you realize how little time you have for fear, for shame, for hesitation. Jobs didn't say this to be poetic. He had battled cancer. He had experienced that sudden moment when your life's timeline becomes painfully real. And from that place of awareness, he built with urgency and clarity. He created things that mattered to him. He followed intuition over convention. And he reminded millions that death is not the enemy, it's a teacher. Viktor Frankl's story goes even deeper. A Holocaust survivor, Frankl was imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps where he lost his family and nearly his own life. In that hellish environment, where people were stripped of their dignity, health, and freedom, he observed something remarkable. Those who had a sense of purpose, a why, were more likely to survive than those who didn't. He watched as people who had something meaningful to live for, whether it was a child, unfinished work, or a deep spiritual belief, found strength in the darkest of places. Out of this experience, he developed the foundation of logotherapy, a psychological method built on the belief that the search for meaning is the primary motivation of human beings. Frankl didn't deny the horror he lived through. He didn't try to paint it as something noble, but he did insist that even in suffering, we can find purpose. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That choice, even in the face of death, is what gives us power." Frankl's story shows us that meaning is not something handed to us by the world. It is something we create, sometimes painfully, sometimes quietly, but always with intention. There are countless others whose lives were transformed not by death itself, but by the awareness of it. Terminally ill patients often speak of a strange paradox. Once they stop trying to outrun death and begin to accept it, they often find peace. Suddenly, small things take on new meaning. The taste of food, the sound of rain, a conversation with a loved one. These become sacred. There's a shift in perspective. The future no longer stretches out in front of them like an endless road, so they stop delaying joy. They say what they mean. They forgive. They create. They become fully alive, even in the face of the end. In books like When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi or Tuesdays with Mori by Mitch Albom, we see stories of people who, when faced with terminal diagnoses, begin to distill life down to its essence. Kalanithi, a neurosurgeon diagnosed with cancer, wrote about how death stripped away his illusions. He said, "Even if I'm dying, until I actually die, I am still living." That one sentence carries so much truth. It's easy to forget, in the fog of daily stress and distraction, that we are alive right now, and that simple fact is enough to give our time weight and meaning. Even among ordinary people, not just philosophers, survivors, or public figures, there are reflections worth listening to. If you were to sit down with someone who survived a car crash, or a near-death medical scare, or even a suicide attempt, you'd often hear something familiar. "I was wasting my life." They don't talk about their resume or their regrets about not posting more content. They talk about people, about love, about the pain they ignored, the chances they didn't take, the time they thought they had, and the moment everything changed. To bring this closer to home, here's a simple prompt that anyone can use, whether you're facing death or not. Write down what you would do if you knew for certain that you had only 1 year to live. Not in theory. Really picture it. 1 year. That's 365 days. What would change? Who would you stop trying to impress? What truths would you stop hiding? Who would you forgive? What would you stop postponing? Now take that list and ask yourself, why am I waiting to live like this? Why do we need a diagnosis or a funeral or a tragedy to finally give ourselves permission to live intentionally? You don't need to be sick to live like your time is valuable. You don't need to be dying to finally be honest with yourself. Another powerful reflection is to ask yourself at the end of each day, if I died tonight, would I be at peace with how I live today? It's a confronting question, but over time it can become a compass. Maybe today you didn't do everything perfectly. Maybe you got distracted or snapped at someone or wasted time. That's okay. This practice isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. It's about making small, meaningful adjustments day by day so that your life begins to align with your deepest values. People often think they need to completely change their lives to live more meaningfully. But it's not about quitting your job or moving to a mountain or giving up your belongings. Urgent living isn't about extremes, it's about depth. It's about bringing intention to the life you already have. It's about listening more closely, speaking more honestly, showing up more fully, and remembering every single day that this is it. This is your shot. Not someday, now. Real people have proven this over and over again. You don't need to be extraordinary, you just need to be awake. And sometimes the awareness of death is the very thing that opens your eyes. not to sadness but to meaning, not to fear but to truth, not to dread but to purpose. So write the sentence. I may die today, how do I want to live? Write it every morning, read it every night. Let it shape your words, your choices, your focus. Because in the end, death is not what steals life from us, it's forgetfulness. You're not stuck, you're just clinging to the dead version of you. That version, the one who accepted less, who feared more, who lived small to stay safe, no longer fits, but you keep wearing it. You keep performing the same identity you outgrew years ago, and so life begins to feel heavy, slow, and stale. Not because something's wrong, but because something's over. The story you've been telling about who you are has expired, and yet you're still reciting it like a script handed to you long ago. It's like trying to breathe new life into a sandcastle that's already collapsed. It doesn't matter how perfectly you built it once. The tide has come, it's time to let go. Every transformation requires a death, a spiritual one, a psychological one, an identity-based death. It's the ending of who you thought you were, the ending of the lies you told yourself to survive, the ending of comfort zones, coping mechanisms, and small ambitions. But we resist this death. We hold on to old relationships that no longer serve us. We stay in jobs that suffocate us. We replay the same emotions over and over again, not because they help us, but because they're familiar. We mistake this resistance for being stuck, but we're not stuck. We're attached. We're loyal to a version of ourselves that was only meant to get us this far, not to take us where we're meant to go next. What if the thing holding you back isn't fear or failure or circumstances, but the person you think you are? The name you respond to, the habits you justify, the beliefs you defend, all of it. What if growth isn't about becoming more, but about shedding everything that isn't truly you? The truth is, every level of your life will demand a different version of you. And the person you are today may have to die for the next version to be born. That's not poetic metaphor, that's how transformation works. The caterpillar has to dissolve completely before it becomes a butterfly. It doesn't just grow wings, it becomes unrecognizable. But this kind of death is terrifying, isn't it? Because it requires stepping into the unknown. No guarantees, no familiar labels, no handrails, just you and the silence of not knowing who you are anymore. But that's where the real magic begins. In that space where your old identity crumbles and the new one hasn't fully formed yet, it's where real self-trust is born. Not the kind that says, I know who I am, but the kind that whispers, I trust myself even when I don't. We're taught to build ourselves up, but no one tells us that sometimes we have to tear ourselves down first, not out of self-hate, but out of truth, to admit with courage that certain parts of us were built out of fear or trauma or people-pleasing, and those parts have done their job, they protected us. But their job is over now, and if we don't let them go, they'll start to suffocate the version of us that's trying to emerge, like wearing clothes that are 5 sizes too small and wondering why you can't move freely. Transformation is not a gentle process. It's not self-improvement. It's self-destruction, followed by self-creation. You don't just shift habits. You burn narratives. You kill illusions. You betray who you've been to stay loyal to who you're meant to be. There's a reason every ancient culture has some version of the rebirth myth. The phoenix that sets itself on fire to rise from its own ashes. The caterpillar that disappears into a cocoon and dissolves into nothing before emerging as a butterfly. The alchemist's gold forged only through intense, purifying fire. These aren't just poetic symbols. They are maps for human transformation. They speak to a truth so deep we often forget it. You cannot become something greater without first letting something go. You cannot evolve without sacrifice. And that sacrifice almost always feels like death, because in many ways, it is. But here's what most people miss. The reason transformation feels so painful isn't because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're doing something right. You are shedding your skin. You are stepping away from your old life, your old patterns, your old stories. You are burning the bridges that kept you small. And yes, it feels like loss. But what you're actually losing is the weight that kept you from flying. Think of the butterfly. It doesn't just grow wings on top of its caterpillar body, no. Inside the cocoon it melts. Its organs, tissues, and form disintegrate. It becomes goo, a shapeless, formless mess. No direction, no identity. It dies, and from that death something new emerges, a creature with wings. That's what real personal growth feels like. Not a steady staircase, not a 5-step formula. It's disorientation, it's confusion, it's the chaos of unlearning everything you thought you were and waiting, with trembling hands and a racing heart, to see what will grow in its place. People want change, but they don't want to feel lost. They want evolution without the in-between. But that's not how nature works. Before something is reborn, it must dissolve. It must be reduced to its most essential form. The ego hates this. The ego clings to control, definition, certainty. But transformation doesn't care what your ego wants. It only cares what your soul needs. You must let the old self burn to find what's beneath the ash. And that's not metaphorical advice. That's practical. That means you may have to walk away from relationships where you're not allowed to grow. You may have to disappoint people who only love the version of you that stays small. You may have to quit things, say no, let go of dreams that don't fit anymore. It might mean sitting in silence and realizing how much of your identity was performative, crafted to be liked, accepted, or approved. That's not easy. It's heartbreaking. But that heartbreak is holy. It's the sound of old walls collapsing so new ground can be broken. This is why so many people stay stuck, because the old self may be painful, but it's familiar, it's predictable. It's like living in a cage that hurts, but at least you know the shape of it. True transformation asks you to step outside that cage and walk blindfolded into the unknown. No guarantees, no applause, just you and your raw, unprotected self. It's terrifying. But it's also the only way to become who you were always meant to be. If you want to become gold, you must be willing to endure the fire that burns away the impurities, the parts of you that aren't real, the masks, the pride, the self-pity, the excuses. They cannot survive the heat. Only truth can, only essence. There is no shortcut to this process. You can't fake your way through it. You can't pretend to burn the old you while secretly holding onto the ashes in your pocket. Life knows, life sees, and until you surrender fully, you will feel torn, half in the old world, half in the new. You'll feel stuck, not because you lack potential, but because you refuse to grieve what's no longer aligned. Real growth requires grief. You must mourn the version of yourself that helped you survive but cannot help you thrive. You must bow your head and thank that self, and then let it die with grace. And here's the beautiful part. After the fire, after the cocoon, after the death, something new is born. Not always immediately. Sometimes you must sit in the ash for a while. You must get comfortable with being no one before you can truly become someone new. But eventually a spark returns, a clarity, a strength, not loud or boastful but steady. The kind of strength that comes from knowing you survived the fire, that you didn't just build a better version of your old self. You created something entirely new. That's power, that's freedom, that's rebirth. You will know you're in the process of being reborn when everything starts to feel uncertain, when your usual comforts no longer satisfy, when people around you say you've changed, and they don't say it as a compliment. You will feel alone, not because you're doing something wrong, but because the people who belong to your old life can't follow you where you're going. That's part of the deal. The phoenix doesn't rise with company. The cocoon doesn't have a door for visitors. These are solitary experiences by design, but they are sacred. The question isn't whether you will go through this death. Everyone does at some point. The question is, will you resist it, or will you surrender to it? Will you cling to the ashes and try to rebuild the same old life, or will you trust the fire to shape something better? Will you let your ego convince you that staying small is safer, or will you leap terrified into the unknown, trusting that wings will grow as you fall? People think the fire is the enemy. They avoid it, fear it. But the fire is the teacher. It burns away what you no longer need. It shows you what's real. It clears space for rebirth. And if you let it, the fire will introduce you to the version of yourself you were always meant to meet. Not the one shaped by fear or expectation or conformity, but the one that was there before all that. The one that's raw, alive and real. So if you're in the fire now, let it burn. If you're in the cocoon, trust the process. Don't try to rush it. Don't try to escape it. Sit in the ash. Sit in the silence. Sit in the uncertainty. Because beneath that stillness, something is stirring. Something is being born. And one day, when you least expect it, you'll rise. Not because you forced yourself to change, but because you surrendered to becoming. You'll look back and realize that what felt like the end was actually the beginning. That the fire didn't destroy you, it revealed you. And that the death of your old self was the best thing that ever happened to you. Nietzsche's philosophy often sounds brutal at first glance. His language is sharp, dramatic, even aggressive. He talks about the death of God, about struggle and will, about man as something to be overcome. But when you slow down and look deeper, you'll see something far more human in his work, a deep understanding of the pain and potential of becoming. Nietzsche wasn't just telling people to be strong for the sake of it. He was calling us to transcend who we are. Not because we're unworthy, but because we're unfinished. For him, human beings are not static, fixed, final. We are in a constant state of evolution, or at least we should be. When Nietzsche says, "He who has a why can bear almost any how," he's giving us one of the most powerful tools for surviving the chaos of life: purpose. Not comfort, not success, not even happiness, but something deeper, a why. A reason to get out of bed when everything in you wants to stay down. A reason to keep walking through the fire when your legs are shaking and the world around you is falling apart. Most people don't break because life is too hard. They break because they can't see why they should keep going. When you don't have a why, every little inconvenience becomes a mountain. Every failure feels fatal. But when you have a real why, something that lights your soul on fire, then pain becomes fuel. Struggle becomes training. Setbacks become steps. Nietzsche believed that we are not meant to be fragile, passive creatures. We are meant to suffer, to struggle, and through that to become. But become what exactly? That's where the idea of the Übermensch comes in, one of Nietzsche's most misunderstood ideas. People hear the term and think of some kind of elite superhuman, above everyone else. But Nietzsche wasn't promoting superiority, he was promoting self-overcoming. The Übermensch isn't someone who dominates others, it's someone who masters themselves, someone who creates their own values, rather than blindly following what society tells them. Someone who doesn't need external validation to feel alive. Someone who looks inside and asks, what do I believe? What kind of life do I want to live? What is my truth, even if no one else agrees with it? For Nietzsche, the average person is stuck living someone else's life. Inherited beliefs, societal expectations, roles they never chose but feel obligated to play. He saw that most people never really think for themselves. They follow the herd, live by rules they never questioned, worship ideas they never understood, and worst of all, they stay this way because it's comfortable, because it's easier to obey than to create. But Nietzsche's whole message was a challenge to this comfort. Man is something that shall be overcome, he wrote. Not because man is evil or worthless, but because man is potential. We are bridges, not endpoints, bridges to something greater. And that greater thing is the fully realized, fully awakened individual. Not someone perfect, but someone becoming. And that process of becoming, it's not gentle. It requires tearing yourself apart. Nietzsche called this self-overcoming. You have to face your own lies, your own cowardice, your own laziness. You have to confront every part of yourself that has settled, compromised, or hidden behind excuses. And then, and this is the hardest part, you have to will yourself into something new, not with empty affirmations, not by pretending, but through action, through fire, through discipline, reflection, and relentless honesty. Self-overcoming means waking up and saying, this part of me isn't working anymore. This belief, this behavior, this fear, it's got to go. And then doing the hard, painful work of changing it day by day, thought by thought, step by step. This doesn't mean becoming cold, emotionless, or hardened. In fact, the Übermensch is deeply alive. They feel everything. They love life not because it's easy, but because it's real. Nietzsche wanted us to affirm life, to say yes to all of it, even the ugly parts, even the pain, the grief, the uncertainty. He called it amor fati, the love of fate. Not just accepting what happens to you, but loving it, seeing every wound as a doorway, every loss as a lesson, every challenge as a chance to rise. This kind of mindset doesn't come from privilege or comfort, it comes from inner strength. And that strength is forged, always, in struggle. One of the most powerful things Nietzsche did was flip the traditional idea of morality on its head. He wasn't interested in being good in the way society defines it. He didn't care about approval, politeness, or fitting in. He cared about authenticity. And sometimes being authentic means being misunderstood. Sometimes it means standing alone. Sometimes it means being labeled wrong, difficult, or even dangerous, because you refuse to follow the script. But Nietzsche's point was that you cannot become the highest version of yourself if you're still trying to be acceptable to everyone else. You have to dare to offend, to disrupt, to rebel, not out of arrogance, but out of integrity. This is a message many people don't want to hear. It's much easier to stay in the identity you've always worn, even if it makes you miserable, than to rip it off and face the uncertainty of change. It's easier to complain about life than to build one. It's easier to blame your parents, your past, your circumstances than to take responsibility for your becoming. But if you truly want freedom, deep, inner, unshakable freedom, then Nietzsche's path is clear. You must create yourself, not just once, constantly. Every time you get comfortable, you ask, what am I avoiding? What part of me have I neglected? Where have I stopped growing? Self-overcoming isn't a single event. It's a way of life, a commitment to becoming the artist of your own soul. And like any artist, you'll have to destroy old drafts. You'll have to start over. You'll have to experiment, fail, and keep going. The masterpiece is never complete, but it becomes more beautiful every time you return to it with honesty and courage. Nietzsche didn't give us a map to follow. He gave us a challenge, a mirror, a push. He didn't say, here's who you should be. He said, who are you brave enough to become? And that's the question you must answer again and again. Not by talking about it, not by thinking about it, but by living it. By standing up every day and deciding, I will not remain who I was. I will rise. I will change. I will become. Because life isn't asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be in motion, to keep going, to keep shaping, to keep shedding the false and stepping into the real. And if that means burning the old you to the ground, then light the match. Watch the ashes fall, and from them, begin again. Carl Jung believed that most of us walk around wearing masks, not because we're dishonest, but because we're afraid. Afraid that if we showed who we really are, we wouldn't be accepted. Afraid that our flaws would make us unlovable. So instead of living as our full selves, we create a version of us that's easier to digest, polished, agreeable, predictable. This version, this mask, becomes our ego, and while it helps us fit in, it also traps us. Because as long as you're protecting a fragile self-image, you cannot truly grow. Growth requires truth, and truth threatens the persona we've spent years building. But if you want to live a full life, you have to be willing to let that image crack, and eventually shatter. Jung called this mask the persona. It's the identity we build for the outside world. The one that gets praised, hired, liked, and followed. But beneath it lives everything we've repressed. All the parts of ourselves we've disowned, denied, or buried because they didn't feel safe to express. Jung called this the shadow, the rejected side of the self. And here's the hard truth. The more you deny your shadow, the more control it has over you. You think you're in charge of your life, but you're really just reacting to hidden wounds and unconscious fears. You avoid conflict not because you're peaceful, but because you're scared of being disliked. You chase perfection not because you're driven, but because you're terrified of feeling not enough. You sabotage relationships, procrastinate, overthink, lash out, not because you're broken, but because something inside you is begging to be seen. Until you face it, you'll stay stuck in patterns you don't understand. Shadow work is the process of turning toward that buried part of yourself, not to destroy it, but to understand it, to welcome it back into the light. People think personal development is about becoming better, stronger, more positive. But sometimes growth means getting messier before you get clearer. It means feeling things you've avoided for years. Grief, anger, shame, regret. These aren't flaws in your personality, they're messages, and ignoring them doesn't make you stronger, it makes you split. The longer you pretend to be fine, the louder your shadow becomes, not in words, but in actions. You'll keep repeating cycles. You'll keep attracting the same pain, because the parts of you that are unseen will always find a way to be felt. The first step to becoming whole is letting go of who you pretend to be. This is one of Jung's most powerful teachings. You don't become whole by adding more knowledge, more success, more validation. You become whole by subtracting, by removing the false layers, by being brutally honest about what's really driving you. Are you ambitious because you love to grow, or because you fear being ordinary? Are you kind because it's who you are, or because you're terrified of confrontation? Are you happy, or are you just busy enough to not feel the sadness? These are not questions most people want to ask, but without them, you're just decorating the walls of a house built on lies. To do shadow work means being willing to feel like a stranger to yourself for a while, because when you stop performing, you'll realize how much of your identity was shaped by fear, and that's a disorienting feeling. But it's also the beginning of real power, because now you're not just reacting, you're choosing. You're no longer running from your pain, you're learning from it. You're not avoiding your flaws, you're integrating them. You start to realize that the parts of you you've hated might actually be your greatest teachers, that your anger has something to say, that your sadness carries depth, that your fear holds a kind of sacred warning. These emotions are not enemies, they're invitations to go deeper. Jung believed that you can't become truly free until you've faced the darkest parts of yourself, and not just faced them, but accepted them. That doesn't mean you act out your impulses or justify bad behavior. It means you stop pretending you're above it all. You stop pretending that you're only light, only love, only peace. Wholeness is not purity. Wholeness is honesty. It's owning the full spectrum of who you are, the generous and the selfish, the patient and the impulsive, the brave and the terrified. When you integrate your shadow, you stop fighting yourself. And that inner alignment gives you real strength, the kind that doesn't need to impress, perform, or prove. One of the most powerful moments in your personal growth journey will be when you stop asking, "How can I be better?" and start asking, "What am I still hiding?" Because the truth is, you don't need to become someone else. You need to remember who you were before the world told you to be something you're not, before you learned to shrink your voice, before you learned to wear a smile when you were dying inside, before you learned to measure your worth by productivity, beauty, or status. The real you is still there, under all the masks, and it's not weak, it's not broken, it's just buried. But the ego will fight this process, because the ego's job is to protect the image, even if that image is killing you. The ego wants control, not truth, and that's why ego death feels so terrifying, because it's a kind of surrender. You're letting go of the person you've convinced yourself you are, and in that space, there's silence, uncertainty, but also potential, space for something real to grow, not something you've been taught to be, something you were always meant to become. This is the paradox of shadow work. What you avoid the most is often what will set you free. That part of you you've been ashamed of, it's the key to your confidence. That fear you've been numbing, it's pointing you to the part of your life that's out of alignment. That sadness you keep burying, it's trying to tell you what matters. Integration isn't about turning darkness into light. It's about realizing that the darkness is part of the light, that there's nothing in you that's too ugly to be seen, nothing that can't be understood, healed, and welcomed. Carl Jung didn't promise that this work would be easy. He knew that facing your shadow can feel like descending into madness. But what he also knew, and what most people only discover later in life, is that the person you meet on the other side of that descent is real. Not perfect, not flawless, but rooted, grounded, alive. And that kind of aliveness, the kind that comes from living as your full self, is worth every tear, every doubt, every uncomfortable truth you had to face to get there. So if you feel like your life is off track, like you're exhausted from pretending, like no matter what you achieve it never feels like enough, stop looking outside, start looking within. The part of you you're trying to hide is the part you most need to bring into the light, because only when you own all of who you are can you live in peace. Not the peace that comes from having everything figured out, but the peace that comes from no longer running, from standing still, looking yourself in the eye and saying, "I see you, I accept you, and I'm ready to become whole." Soren Kierkegaard, often called the father of existentialism, had a message that still hits like a lightning bolt today. Despair isn't a flaw, it's a signal. It's not a mental illness to be numbed, a weakness to be ashamed of, or a bad mood to push through. It's a sign you're outgrowing the life you're currently living. When Kierkegaard talks about despair, he doesn't mean something purely emotional. He means something existential. The deep inner ache that comes when your soul knows you're living a life that isn't true to who you are. You may be functioning, smiling, succeeding on the outside, but something inside you feels disconnected, like you're not really there. That's despair. It's the soul's cry for alignment, and if you ignore it, it only gets louder. Most people try to silence despair instead of listening to it. They distract themselves, they chase achievements, they keep moving, hoping if they just stay busy enough, they won't have to face that emptiness. But Kierkegaard was clear, running from despair only deepens it. You might fool your friends, your boss, your followers, but you won't fool yourself. Deep down, you know when you're avoiding your own becoming. Despair is the soul's rebellion against a life that's too small, against a self that's no longer real. It's your inner world saying, "This isn't it. You were meant for more than this performance." And what's the cure for despair? Not more comfort, not more security. The cure is a leap. Kierkegaard's famous idea, the leap of faith, isn't just about religion. It's about transformation. It's about the moment when you realize that logic, plans, and guarantees can only take you so far. That the next step in your growth requires you to leap into the unknown, to let go of certainty, and to move forward with nothing but trust. The leap doesn't mean recklessness, it means courage. It means standing at the edge of your current identity, your current life, your current beliefs, and saying, "Even though I don't know what comes next, I'm going anyway." He wrote, "To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. To not dare is to lose oneself." This is the cost of becoming. When you leap, yes, you will feel lost, uncertain, groundless. You may lose your sense of who you are. But if you don't leap, if you cling to the familiar, the stable, the expected, then you risk something far worse. You risk never truly meeting yourself. You risk living a life that's easy to explain but hard to feel. A life that looks good on paper but feels empty inside. You risk success without fulfillment, comfort without meaning, safety without aliveness. Most people spend their lives avoiding the leap, and you can't blame them. Leaping is terrifying. It means walking away from the known. It means possibly disappointing others. It means risking failure, rejection, isolation. But Kierkegaard was adamant. If you want a life that's real, if you want to live as a soul, not just as a role, the leap isn't optional, it's required. And the longer you delay it, the deeper your despair becomes. Because the soul cannot thrive in captivity. It cannot be satisfied by half-truths and safe routines. It needs risk, it needs depth, it needs purpose. And all of that lives on the other side of the leap. What does a leap look like in real life? It's different for everyone. For some, it's quitting a job that drains your soul. For others, it's walking away from a relationship that no longer reflects who you're becoming. Sometimes it's changing your entire environment, your worldview, your habits. Sometimes it's simply choosing to feel what you've been avoiding. Grief, rage, loneliness, and letting those feelings guide you towards something more honest. The leap doesn't always look dramatic from the outside, but on the inside, it's everything. It's the shift from fear to trust, from avoidance to action, from surviving to becoming. But here's what most people don't realize. The leap is never guaranteed to work out the way you expect. That's the point. You don't leap because you know the outcome. You leap because staying where you are is no longer an option. You leap because the pain of pretending is heavier than the fear of the unknown. Kierkegaard didn't say the leap was easy. He said it was necessary. It's an act of faith, not in some abstract idea, but in yourself, in life, in the belief that even if you fall, even if everything falls apart, you will find something on the other side. A deeper self, a clearer truth, a new beginning. There's a certain kind of clarity that only comes after you've leapt. When you've left behind the old you and are suspended in mid-air. Not who you were, not yet who you're becoming. It's uncomfortable, lonely, you won't have answers. You might cry, doubt, want to run back, but something powerful happens when you stay in that uncertainty. You stop pretending, you stop performing, and little by little, you start to see what's real, what you truly care about, what you truly believe, who you truly are, and from that space, something new is born, something more honest, more resilient, more alive. The leap will always cost you something, your comfort, your certainty, your image, but it will give you something far greater, yourself. Not the version you've curated to survive, but the version that was always waiting underneath. The one who isn't afraid to speak the truth, the one who doesn't chase approval, the one who can walk through darkness without needing a flashlight, because now there's a light inside. Kierkegaard didn't offer formulas or solutions. He offered depth. He challenged people to look beneath the surface of their lives and ask the hard questions. Am I really living as myself? Or am I living to be accepted, to be safe, to be liked? And if the answer is painful, if it fills you with despair, that's not the end, that's the beginning. Because despair is not a sign that you're broken, it's a sign that you're ready to leap. And if you're standing on the edge now, trembling, uncertain, afraid, know this, that fear is sacred. It means you're close, it means you're alive, it means something real is calling you forward. Don't silence it, don't run from it, don't wait until the right moment. The right moment is a myth. The leap is never logical, it's spiritual. It's a choice you make in the dark, with no proof, no map, just the quiet knowing that you cannot stay where you are. So leap, not because you're fearless, but because you're ready. Ready to stop living as a shadow, ready to stop shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown, ready to stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand. Leap, and let who you really are catch up to you on the way down. Pain changes you. There's no way around that. Whether it's heartbreak, failure, betrayal, loss, or even the quiet kind of pain, the kind that builds up slowly over time, like loneliness, regret, or feeling invisible, it carves into your life like a blade. And yet, within that carving, there's an opening, an invitation. Because while pain will always hurt, it doesn't have to just break you. It can build you. Not by default, not automatically, but if you're willing to face it, sit with it, and learn from it, your pain can become the very thing that opens the door to your next evolution. Most people don't want to hear that. They want to heal fast. They want comfort, closure, something to make the pain go away. That's understandable. But growth doesn't work like that. Growth doesn't ask you to numb the pain. It asks you to go through it. It asks you to let it burn away what's false, what's weak, what's no longer true. This is why pain is so powerful, because it forces you to confront the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore, the illusions you've clung to, the masks you've worn, the stories you've told yourself to avoid discomfort. Pain has a way of cutting through all of that and leaving you with only what's real. And that's the paradox. Pain feels like punishment, but it's often preparation. It's life breaking you open so something new can grow. When your heart breaks, it teaches you how much you can care. When you fail, it shows you what matters. When you lose someone or something you love, it reminds you how fragile everything is and how urgently you need to live. These moments hurt like hell, but if you lean in instead of turning away, they can become the foundation of your transformation. They can become the fire that forges you into someone more real, more grounded, more awake. Think of it this way. Growth isn't clean. It's not a straight line. It's not always inspiring or pretty. Real growth is violent, messy, full of doubts and breakdowns, and almost always, it begins with pain. Not because pain is noble or romantic, but because it's the one thing strong enough to break your patterns. When everything is comfortable, you coast, you tolerate things, you settle. But when you're in pain, something inside you snaps. You start to ask questions you never asked before. You begin to look at yourself differently. You begin to realize you can't keep living the way you have. That's the door. That's the moment the fire starts. The people who grow the most are not the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who learn how to work with it. They turn heartbreak into insight. They turn rejection into redirection. They turn grief into a deeper love for life. This isn't toxic positivity. This is the hard, honest truth of transformation. You will suffer, but you don't have to suffer in vain. Your pain can either be the thing that shuts you down or the thing that wakes you up. That part is up to you. And it starts with asking different questions, not, why did this happen to me, but what is this trying to teach me? Not, how can I get back to who I was, but who am I meant to become now? You won't find these answers right away. Sometimes the pain is too fresh, too overwhelming. And in those moments, it's okay to just breathe, to sit with the ache, to let yourself feel without trying to fix. But over time, if you stay open, you'll begin to notice something shifting. You'll notice that the pain, while still present, is shaping you, teaching you, refining you. You'll begin to develop strength you didn't know you had, clarity you never thought possible, empathy that turns your scars into bridges. And eventually, you'll look back and realize that the pain didn't destroy you, it revealed you. This is what people mean when they say growth is death and rebirth. The death part is the pain. It's the ending of a story, a belief, a relationship, a part of yourself. And that death is real. It deserves to be honored. But the rebirth is just as real. It's quieter, slower, but it's there in the way you carry yourself, in the way you listen, in the way you show up for others, in the way you no longer tolerate the things that once drained you. Something new is living in you now, something that wouldn't be there without the pain, and maybe that's the point. Maybe the purpose of pain isn't to make you tougher, but to make you truer, to strip away the parts of you that were never fully alive and bring forward the parts that were just waiting to be born. Pain humbles you, it cracks your ego, it makes you ask, who am I without the things I clung to? And slowly, if you're willing to listen, the answer begins to emerge, not as a perfect blueprint, but as a deeper sense of being. You begin to see that you are not your wounds, but you are someone who can grow from them. This isn't about glamorizing suffering. Suffering is real, and it can break people, but it can also wake them up. And if you're in pain right now, if you feel like your life has collapsed or your heart has been ripped open, don't rush to put it back together. Let yourself be in that space. Let yourself ask what this pain is pointing you toward, because pain is a doorway, and what lies on the other side isn't comfort, it's truth, and the truth will set you free in ways comfort never could. The fire that pain brings is a test, not of your worth, but of your willingness. Will you let it consume you, or will you let it transform you? Will you use it to justify shutting down, or will you use it to break through? That choice is yours. Every painful moment offers that invitation. Every time you feel like giving up, there's a quieter voice underneath saying, this is your moment. Don't run, don't numb, rise. There's no formula for this process, no timeline. Some people stay in the fire for years before they see the other side. Some people walk through it with tears in their eyes, shaking the whole way. That's okay. There's no right way to grow. There's only this. Let the pain open you. Let it show you what's no longer working. Let it remind you of what matters. Let it burn off the parts of you that were built to survive, so that the parts of you that were born to live can finally breathe. Because in the end, your pain is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your becoming. Let it shape you. Let it stretch you. Let it make you someone who is more honest, more compassionate, more courageous than you've ever been. Let your pain be the door, and when you're ready, walk through it. Not because it's easy, but because everything you truly want lives on the other side. There comes a moment, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, when you realize that the life you're living doesn't quite fit anymore. Maybe it used to. Maybe it carried you through dark times, gave you identity, gave you structure, but now it feels tight, confining, heavy. That's not a mistake, that's not failure, that's growth. That's the quiet signal that it's time to let the old you die. Not out of self-hate, not because you were never good enough, but because you're ready to become someone else. Someone more honest, more alive, more aligned with who you are becoming rather than who you've been pretending to be. To do this, you have to begin with reflection. Not the shallow kind, the kind that scrolls through memories like a highlight reel, but the deep, uncomfortable kind, the kind that forces you to ask hard questions. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I truly want, beyond what I've been told to want? What beliefs have I inherited from family, from school, from society, that I never chose for myself? What do I continue to carry that doesn't belong to me? These questions are not small, they are dangerous in the best way possible, because they break the illusion that you are living your own life, when in fact, you may be living a script handed to you by someone else. That's what happens to most people. They grow up absorbing unspoken rules. Be polite, be productive, be agreeable, don't be too loud, don't be too emotional, don't want too much. Play it safe, get a good job, stay quiet, be what we expect you to be. These messages don't always come with bad intentions, but they can become prisons. And at some point, if you want to truly live, not just survive, you have to burn those scripts, tear them up, set them on fire, and begin writing your own. Not as a reaction, not as rebellion for rebellion's sake, but because you're finally ready to be the author of your own story. This is where detachment comes in. Letting the old you die means detaching from the identity you've built for others. It means no longer needing to be the funny one, the smart one, the strong one, the put-together one, whatever label you've clung to for safety or approval. It means realizing that you are not your roles, you are not your job title, you are not your relationship status, you are not your achievements or your failures. Those are things that have happened to you, things you've done, but they are not you. The real you lives deeper than that, and to reach that version, you have to let go of the labels that limit you. Release the pressure to always be consistent with who you used to be. People will try to hold you to your past. They'll say you've changed, and they won't always mean it as a compliment. They'll want you to stay familiar, predictable, easy to categorize, but you owe them nothing. Reinvention is not betrayal, it's survival, it's growth. The version of you that they knew was never meant to last forever. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to walk away from your old life, your old self, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Especially if it makes others uncomfortable, because that's how you know you're doing something real. Here's the truth. You are allowed to reinvent yourself. In fact, you must. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. Every time life breaks you open, every time a part of you no longer feels true, every time you wake up and realize you've been living on autopilot. Reinvention isn't just for rock-bottom moments, it's a daily practice. A quiet decision you make to stop pretending, to stop performing, and to start becoming. No matter how far you've gone in the wrong direction, you can turn around. No matter how much time you've spent building a version of yourself that doesn't feel real anymore, you can change. Right now, you can choose again. This won't be easy. Reinvention comes with loss. You may lose friends who liked the old you better. You may lose opportunities that were tied to a version of you that no longer exists. You may even lose a sense of control. But what you gain is far greater. You gain your own voice. You gain freedom. You gain a life that actually feels like yours. Not something you inherited, not something you stumbled into, but something you built consciously from the inside out. Start simple. Start by telling the truth. First to yourself. Where are you pretending? Where are you saying yes when you mean no? Where are you dimming your light just to make others comfortable? Then, start telling the truth to the world, even in small ways, even if your voice shakes, even if it means standing alone. That's how the new you begins to emerge, one honest moment at a time. You don't need to know exactly who you're becoming. You just need to stop being who you're not. Letting the old you die doesn't mean discarding your past with bitterness. It means honoring it, thanking it, and moving on. The old you did their best. The old you got you here, but now it's time for a different path. You can love that version of yourself and still outgrow them. That's not disloyalty. That's evolution. That's what becoming truly alive looks like. So give yourself permission to begin again, to try new things, to ask better questions, to walk away from anything that no longer feels true, even if it's comfortable, even if it's all you've ever known. The path to freedom doesn't start with a plan, it starts with a decision. I am no longer willing to abandon myself just to be who others expect me to be. Letting go doesn't mean erasing everything. It means returning to your foundation, your values, your voice, your soul, and rebuilding from there. It means releasing attachment to the image and becoming devoted to the essence, because that's the only thing that lasts. The world changes, people change, seasons shift, but the truth of who you are, beyond the layers, is always waiting, waiting for you to return, waiting for you to stop playing small, waiting for you to stop asking for permission to exist. You don't owe the world consistency, you owe it authenticity. And the most authentic thing you can do, the most powerful thing you can do, is to let the old you die with grace, with love, with fire. Let that version go. Thank them for their service, and then walk forward, not because you know where you're going, but because you finally know who you are not. That's enough to begin, because you're not meant to stay the same. You're not meant to shrink to fit into the story you outgrew. You're meant to shed, to expand, to rise, again and again and again, until one day you look in the mirror and see not a mask, not a performance, not a version built for survival, but a soul fully alive, finally free. Have you ever wondered why some days you feel unstoppable, while others you can't seem to get off the couch? Why do these bouts of laziness seem to sneak up just when you need motivation the most? Imagine conquering this inertia not just for a day, but transforming it into a sustained drive that powers every aspect of your life. Today we're diving deep into a universal struggle, overcoming laziness to feel more empowered and in control. By the end of this video, you'll have not just an understanding, but a set of actionable strategies that can significantly alter how you approach your daily routines and challenges. Why is this important? Because the difference between feeling stuck and moving forward lies in the small decisions and changes we are willing to implement. But first, let's talk about why this topic is so crucial. Laziness isn't just about being idle or procrastinating on tasks. It's often a complex interplay of lack of motivation, fear, overwhelming feelings, and poor planning. Each of these factors feeds into the cycle of inactivity, creating a barrier that seems insurmountable. Breaking this cycle means understanding its roots and applying targeted approaches to eradicate them. My journey with laziness has been as real as anyone's. There were days I found myself glued to my chair, mindlessly scrolling through my phone, wasting hours with nothing to show for it. The turning point came when I realized that small, consistent changes could lead to significant transformations. I began by setting achievable goals, which gradually led to larger, more ambitious ones. Each step forward boosted my confidence and diminished the hold laziness had on my life. Sharing these experiences and solutions with you isn't just about giving advice, it's about offering a proven pathway that has worked not only for myself, but for countless others who have faced similar struggles. As we delve into the heart of this video, we will explore 5 key reasons that contribute to laziness and provide you with strategies to counteract each one. Whether it's the lack of clear goals that leaves you directionless, or the daunting size of tasks that paralyzes your start, Each point will be addressed with practical philosophical insights aimed at reshaping your perspective and actions. We will also tackle the fears that prevent us from stepping out of our comfort zones and the poor time management skills that exacerbate our procrastination. Why should you stick around until the end? Because we're not just scratching the surface with general tips like just get organized or stop procrastinating. We are going deeper, uncovering the roots of laziness and equipping you with philosophical insights and psychological tools that will empower you to initiate and sustain change. The strategies discussed today are tailored to foster long-term improvements in how you manage your energy, focus your efforts, and ultimately, how you perceive and tackle tasks. This isn't about quick fixes, it's about building a foundation that supports lifelong productivity and fulfillment. What exactly is laziness? Often, we quickly label someone as lazy if they aren't achieving as much as we think they should, or if they spend a lot of time engaging in leisure activities. However, laziness is not just a simple refusal to work or an aversion to activity. At its core, laziness can be seen as a lack of motivation to engage in necessary or meaningful tasks, even when one has the capability to do so. This definition helps us see laziness not just as a personal failing, but as a complex behavior that might have deeper roots. It's crucial to distinguish laziness from other conditions that might mimic its appearance. For instance, someone might seem lazy because they're always tired or disinterested in activity, but these symptoms could also indicate underlying health issues like depression or chronic fatigue syndrome. Depression often dampens motivation and drains energy, making even simple tasks seem daunting. Fatigue, whether physical or mental, can also cripple one's ability to perform tasks that require effort. Unlike laziness, these conditions are not about a lack of willingness, but rather a decrease in one's capacity to act due to mental health struggles or physical limitations. One of the biggest myths about laziness is that it's merely a lack of willpower. This view oversimplifies the issue and can be damaging, leading to harsh judgments and self-criticism. It implies that if only individuals tried harder, they could easily overcome their inertia. However, this is not always the case. Laziness is often a symptom rather than the main problem. For example, if someone finds a task unrewarding or pointless, their reluctance to engage isn't a matter of willpower. It's a reaction to the perceived lack of value in the task. Similarly, if the task is too complex or ambiguous, the delay in starting or completing the task isn't laziness, but a natural response to uncertainty. Another common misconception is that lazy people are unproductive in all areas of life, which is often not true. Many people might choose to exert their efforts selectively, focusing intensely on activities they find meaningful or enjoyable, while neglecting others. This selective focus isn't laziness, it's a prioritization of interests and values, which can actually be a rational decision-making process. From a psychological standpoint, laziness can be linked to various cognitive and emotional factors. One key concept is the theory of learned helplessness, which is a condition in which a person feels powerless to change their situation due to repeated failures. This feeling of helplessness can lead to a lack of effort because the individual believes that no amount of effort will change their circumstances. Another psychological factor is the concept of delay discounting, where people are more likely to choose immediate, smaller rewards over larger, delayed ones. This can make long-term goals seem less appealing, fostering procrastination and so-called laziness. Moreover, the way we are conditioned from a young age also plays a significant role in how we approach tasks as adults. For instance, if someone was frequently criticized instead of encouraged during their formative years, they might develop a fear of failure that makes them hesitant to try new or challenging tasks. This isn't laziness, but a protective mechanism to avoid negative emotions and self-perceptions. Additionally, motivational psychology introduces us to the idea of intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. People who are intrinsically motivated perform activities for the sake of the activity itself because they find it rewarding. In contrast, extrinsically motivated individuals engage in activities for external rewards or pressures, such as grades or approval from others. When intrinsic motivation is low and external incentives are absent or insufficient, what looks like laziness might actually be a lack of compelling reasons to engage in the activity. By understanding these psychological principles, we can better understand why simply trying harder isn't always the answer to overcoming laziness. Instead, addressing the underlying causes, whether they are emotional, cognitive, or situational, can lead to more effective solutions. One of the fundamental reasons behind what we often perceive as laziness is the lack of clear goals. Without a specific target or objective in mind, it becomes difficult to muster the energy or enthusiasm to take action. Imagine trying to hit a target that you can't see. No matter how many times you shoot, your chances of hitting it are slim. This analogy captures the frustration and futility that can accompany unclear or undefined goals. When goals are vague, motivation wanes because you don't have a clear direction or endpoint in mind. This lack of direction can lead to aimless wandering or procrastination, as there's no compelling why driving your actions. Without a strong why, even simple tasks can seem overwhelming or unnecessary, leading individuals to avoid them altogether, thus being labeled as lazy. From a philosophical standpoint, the concept of having a purpose or existential drive is central to human motivation and action. Philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche and Viktor Frankl have emphasized the importance of having a clear purpose in life. Nietzsche's idea of the will to power suggests that our primary drive is to maximize our own power and potential. In this context, clear goals give individuals a sense of direction and a way to channel their energies constructively, fulfilling their desire to achieve and grow. Viktor Frankl, on the other hand, proposed that finding meaning in life is the primary motivational force in humans. He suggested that when people have a clear sense of what they want to achieve, particularly goals that contribute to a larger purpose or meaning, they are more resilient and motivated to overcome obstacles. These philosophical insights underscore the importance of having goals that are not only clear, but also meaningful. When goals align with personal values and contribute to a greater purpose, they become more compelling and motivating. This alignment energizes individuals, propelling them towards action and away from the inertia that is often mistaken for laziness. The first step in setting clear, achievable goals is to define what success looks like for you personally. This means taking the time to reflect on what you truly want to achieve and why it matters. A useful tool in this process is the SMART criteria, where goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. By ensuring your goals meet these criteria, you can increase the clarity and achievability of each objective. Specific. Your goal should be clear and specific, so you know exactly what you're working towards. For example, instead of saying, "I want to get better at math," a more specific goal would be, "I want to improve my math grade from a B to an A by the end of the semester." Measurable. You need to be able to track your progress towards your goal. In the math example, the measurable aspect is the improvement in grades that can be observed and quantified. Achievable. Your goal should be realistic and attainable to be successful in achieving it. This doesn't mean that you can't set high goals, but rather that the goals should not be out of reach. For instance, setting a goal to win a Nobel Prize in your first year of undergraduate study is not as achievable as aiming to contribute to a research project in your field of study. Relevant. The goal should align with your broader life goals and values. If you value academic achievement because it opens doors to good colleges and future job opportunities, then improving your grades is a relevant goal. Time-bound. Every goal should have a deadline or a time frame that specifies when you aim to complete it. The deadline serves as a motivator, encouraging you to plan and execute your actions efficiently. By setting goals that are smart, you provide yourself with a clear roadmap to follow, which enhances your motivation to take action. Regularly reviewing these goals and adjusting them as needed can also help maintain your focus and commitment. Achieving smaller goals can boost your confidence, reduce feelings of overwhelm by breaking down larger tasks, and reinforce the habit of productivity, which collectively help to dissipate the cloud of laziness and inaction. When faced with large, daunting tasks, it's common to feel paralyzed, unsure where to begin or how to proceed. This paralysis isn't just about feeling overwhelmed, it's a psychological response that can trigger a freeze reaction. In the face of a big project, such as writing a term paper, organizing a community event, or even cleaning a cluttered garage, the brain can interpret these tasks as threats, creating anxiety and stress. This response is similar to what animals experience in the wild when confronted with danger. Instead of fleeing or fighting, however, humans often procrastinate. This delay is not due to laziness, but rather an instinctual reaction to what is perceived as an insurmountable task. The sheer scale of a project can cloud our ability to see the individual steps involved, leading us to avoid the task entirely, often misinterpreted as laziness. The ancient philosophy of Stoicism provides valuable insights into handling overwhelming tasks. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca focused on control and rationality, teaching that we should focus only on what is within our power to change and accept what we cannot influence. Applying this to large tasks, Stoicism encourages the practice of chunking or breaking tasks into smaller, more manageable parts. This approach aligns with their teachings on working with nature, including our natural limitations of focus and energy. By dividing a large task into smaller pieces, we reduce the mental and emotional load, making the task seem less daunting and more approachable. Each small task accomplished provides a sense of progress and control, which are key to maintaining motivation and reducing the stress that can come from taking on big projects. To effectively break down overwhelming tasks into manageable chunks, several techniques can be employed. One of the most popular and scientifically supported methods is the Pomodoro technique, developed by Francesco Cirillo in the late 1980s. This technique uses a timer to break work into intervals, traditionally 25 minutes in length, separated by short breaks. Here's how you can apply it. Identify the task. Start with a clear definition of the overall task at hand. For instance, if the task is to prepare for an important exam, the first step is to clearly outline what subjects or topics need to be covered. Break it down. Divide the main task into smaller specific actions. Using the exam preparation example, this could mean creating a list of individual study sessions focused on specific chapters or concepts. Set the Pomodoro timer. Begin a 25-minute work session on just one of the smaller tasks. The key is to focus solely on that small part without thinking about the entirety of the project. Take a short break. After each session, take a 5-minute break. This helps to keep the mind fresh and prevents burnout. During this break, avoid thinking about the task and do something completely unrelated like stretching or having a snack. Repeat and review. Continue with subsequent Pomodoros, each followed by a short break. After 4 Pomodoros, take a longer break of about 15 to 30 minutes. This longer break allows the brain to recover and consolidate the information or progress made. Adjust as needed. As you work through the tasks, adjust your chunks or pomodoros based on what's working or not. Flexibility is key to managing large tasks effectively. Beyond the Pomodoro technique, another useful strategy is to visualize the task as a series of steps on a ladder. Each rung represents a smaller, achievable goal. As you climb each rung, you not only move closer to completing the overall task, but also build momentum and confidence. This ladder method helps maintain a clear perspective on progress and ensures that each step is actionable and within reach. Fear of failure is a powerful deterrent that can lead to procrastination and avoidance behaviors. This fear stems from the anticipation of negative outcomes, such as embarrassment, loss of respect, or a sense of incompetence, which can be so overwhelming that it paralyzes action. When faced with the possibility of failing, many people choose not to try at all, believing that no attempt is safer than a failed one. This avoidance is a protective mechanism, shielding one from the immediate emotional discomfort of failure. However, it also prevents learning and growth, keeping individuals in a safe but stagnant position. This cycle of fear and inaction can manifest in various ways, from delaying starting a project to avoiding challenging tasks altogether. The irony of this fear is that by avoiding failure, one also avoids success, as both are often found on the same path. Existentialism, a philosophy that emphasizes individual freedom, choice, and existence, offers a unique perspective on failure. Prominent existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre and Friedrich Nietzsche have argued that failure is an inevitable part of defining oneself and one's values. According to existentialism, the essence of life is not found in avoiding failure, but in how we respond to it. This philosophy encourages embracing failure as a crucial element of the human experience, a tool for self-discovery and personal growth. Nietzsche's concept of amor fati, or love of one's fate, is particularly relevant here. He suggests that we should not only accept but also love everything that happens in our lives, including our failures. By adopting this mindset, failure becomes not just an accepted outcome, but a welcomed one, as each failure provides invaluable lessons and opportunities for growth. This radical acceptance can transform our approach to challenges, making us more resilient and open to experiences, regardless of their outcome. To effectively overcome the fear of failure, one must redefine their relationship with failure itself. Adopting a growth mindset, a concept popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck, is crucial in this transformation. A growth mindset is the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. This perspective views failure not as a reflection of inherent incapabilities, but as a natural step in the learning process. Here are some practical steps to cultivate a growth mindset and redefine failure. Reframe failure. Begin by changing how you perceive failure. Instead of seeing it as a negative endpoint, view it as a form of feedback or a learning opportunity. For example, if you fail a test, instead of concluding that you're not good at the subject, analyze what went wrong and what you can do differently next time. Set learning goals. Instead of focusing solely on performance goals, for example, getting an A on a test, set learning goals. For example, understanding a concept thoroughly. This shift focuses your attention on the process rather than just the outcome, reducing the pressure associated with fear of failure. Celebrate effort, not just outcome. Recognize and reward effort, not just success. Celebrating the hard work you put into a task, regardless of the outcome, reinforces the value of persistence and effort. Encourage reflection. After a setback, Take time to reflect on what happened. Ask yourself what you learned from the experience and how you can use this knowledge to improve. This reflective practice can help build resilience and a deeper understanding of your capabilities. Expose yourself to challenges. Regularly stepping out of your comfort zone and facing challenges can desensitize you to the fear of failure. Start with smaller challenges and gradually increase the difficulty as you become more comfortable with the possibility of failing. By embracing these strategies, you can begin to see failure as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. This shift in perception not only alleviates the fear of failure, but also enhances your capacity to pursue goals with courage and confidence. Motivation is the driving force that compels us to take action and pursue our goals. However, there are times when this drive dwindles, leaving individuals feeling listless and unmotivated. Understanding why people sometimes lack motivation requires examining several psychological and environmental factors. One primary reason is the absence of intrinsic motivation, which is the motivation that comes from within, driven by interest and enjoyment in the task itself. When activities are performed solely for external rewards, such as money, grades, or approval, they may not engage one's deeper interests or fulfill personal values, leading to a reduction in motivation. Another significant factor is the lack of autonomy. When people feel they have no choice or control over their actions, their intrinsic motivation can decrease. This is often seen in educational or workplace settings where the emphasis is on compliance and adherence to rules, rather than on fostering an environment where individuals can choose tasks that align with their interests and skills. Additionally, a perceived lack of competence can also undermine motivation. If individuals feel that they lack the skills necessary to perform a task effectively, or if the task is too far beyond their current abilities, motivation can wane due to a sense of futility or fear of failure. Friedrich Nietzsche's views on motivation can be particularly enlightening in this context. Nietzsche believed in the power of the will to power as a fundamental motivational force, arguing that striving to maximize one's power and potential is at the core of human motivation. This perspective encourages individuals to seek challenges that foster growth and self-overcoming, rather than avoiding them due to fear or complacency. Nietzsche's idea implies that finding tasks that challenge us and align with our personal growth can significantly enhance motivation. In contemporary motivational psychology, theories like self-determination theory echo some of these ideas. SDT posits that optimal motivation is achieved when three basic psychological needs are met: autonomy, the need to feel in control of one's actions; competence, the need to feel capable and effective; and relatedness, the need to feel connected to others. When these needs are satisfied, individuals experience enhanced self-motivation and well-being, suggesting that environments that support these needs will see higher levels of engagement and motivation from individuals. To increase motivation, particularly intrinsic motivation, it's crucial to connect with personal motivators and create environments that foster autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Here are some practical tips to achieve this. Identify personal interests and passions. Spend time reflecting on activities that you find enjoyable and fulfilling. Integrating these interests into your daily tasks can help enhance intrinsic motivation. For example, if you enjoy creative writing, try to incorporate this skill into routine assignments or projects. Set personal goals. Align your activities with your personal goals and values. Goals that resonate personally are more motivating than those imposed from outside. Make sure these goals are challenging yet achievable to maintain your engagement and interest. Seek challenges. Just as Nietzsche suggested, engaging in challenges that push you to grow can be incredibly motivating. Choose tasks that stretch your abilities but are within your reach. Overcoming these challenges can lead to a sense of accomplishment and boost your motivation to tackle new goals. Cultivate a supportive environment. Surround yourself with people who encourage and support your efforts. Having a network of supportive individuals can fulfill your need for relatedness and provide encouragement during challenging times. Enhance autonomy. Whenever possible, seek ways to have a say in the tasks you undertake or the methods you use. Autonomy is a powerful motivator because it gives you a sense of control over your activities and decisions. Celebrate small wins. Recognizing and celebrating progress, even if small, can boost your sense of competence and reinforce your motivation. Make a habit of acknowledging your successes and learning from your setbacks. By employing these strategies, you can create a motivational environment that not only drives you to achieve your goals, but also aligns with your personal values and interests, leading to a more fulfilling and engaging experience. Poor time management can be a significant contributor to feelings of laziness and unproductivity. When individuals struggle to manage their time effectively, tasks often pile up, deadlines loom, and a sense of overwhelm sets in. This overwhelm can lead to procrastination and avoidance behaviors as individuals feel ill-equipped to tackle the mounting workload. Furthermore, poor time management can create a cycle of inefficiency, where tasks take longer to complete than necessary due to disorganization or lack of prioritization. This inefficiency can exacerbate feelings of frustration and inadequacy, further diminishing motivation and productivity. In essence, poor time management not only leads to wasted time but also contributes to a sense of helplessness and inertia, which are often mistaken for laziness. The philosophical implications of time and productivity have long been pondered by thinkers throughout history. In ancient philosophy, time was often seen as a limited and precious resource, to be used wisely and purposefully. Philosophers like Seneca emphasized the importance of seizing the present moment and making the most of our time on earth. This perspective suggests that wasting time through poor time management is not just a practical concern, but also a moral one, as it represents a failure to fulfill our potential and live up to our responsibilities. From a more contemporary perspective, productivity has become closely intertwined with notions of self-worth and success. In a society that values efficiency and output, the ability to manage one's time effectively is often equated with personal competence and value. This can create added pressure on individuals to perform and achieve, leading to feelings of guilt or inadequacy when time is not utilized optimally. In this context, poor time management can be seen not only as a practical obstacle but also as a philosophical quandary, raising questions about the nature of productivity and its relationship to personal identity and fulfillment. While understanding the various reasons behind laziness and implementing strategies to overcome them is crucial, the real challenge lies in integrating these changes into one's daily lifestyle. It's not enough to simply know what needs to be done. Consistency and application are key to long-term success. Integrating these strategies into your routine is like building a strong foundation for a house. It provides stability and support for future growth and development. By making these changes habitual, they become second nature, reducing the effort required to maintain them and increasing the likelihood of sustained success. The journey towards overcoming laziness and improving productivity is not a sprint but a marathon. It requires patience, perseverance, and a long-term perspective. The strategies discussed earlier are not quick fixes, but rather tools for building lasting habits that support a productive and fulfilling lifestyle. Research in behavioral psychology suggests that it takes an average of 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic, indicating that consistent application over time is essential for habit formation. By consistently applying the strategies outlined in this video, individuals can gradually rewire their brains and behaviors, making productivity and motivation a natural part of their daily lives. Over time, these habits become ingrained, requiring less conscious effort to maintain. As habits solidify, individuals experience greater ease and efficiency in their tasks, leading to increased confidence and satisfaction. Moreover, the benefits of habit formation extend beyond productivity. They also contribute to overall well-being and quality of life. To integrate these changes into your lifestyle, it's essential to establish daily habits that support productivity and combat laziness. Here are some practical suggestions. Morning routine. Start your day with a structured morning routine that sets a positive tone for the rest of the day. This could include activities such as meditation, exercise, journaling, or planning your day ahead. A consistent morning routine helps to jumpstart your energy and focus, making it easier to tackle tasks later on. Task prioritization. Use a to-do list or planner to prioritize your tasks for the day. Identify the most important and urgent tasks and tackle them first, while leaving less critical tasks for later. This helps to prevent overwhelm and ensures that you're focusing your energy on activities that will yield the greatest impact. Time blocking. Allocate specific blocks of time for different tasks or activities throughout the day. This helps to create structure and discipline in your schedule, reducing the likelihood of procrastination and ensuring that you're making progress towards your goals. Regular breaks. Incorporate regular breaks into your day to rest and recharge. Research shows that taking short breaks can actually improve productivity and concentration, as it allows your brain to reset and refocus. Use breaks to engage in activities that relax and rejuvenate you, such as going for a walk, practicing deep breathing, or enjoying a healthy snack. Reflective practice. At the end of each day, take some time to reflect on your accomplishments and challenges. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small, and identify areas for improvement. This reflective practice helps to reinforce positive behaviors and allows you to make adjustments to your approach as needed. Consistent bedtime. Prioritize getting enough sleep and establish a consistent bedtime routine. Adequate rest is essential for cognitive function, mood regulation, and overall well-being. Aim for 7-9 hours of sleep per night and create a relaxing bedtime routine to signal to your body that it's time to wind down. By incorporating these daily habits into your lifestyle, you can create a supportive environment that fosters productivity and combats laziness. Remember, consistency is key. Small, consistent actions over time lead to significant changes and long-term success. Today we've explored the multifaceted nature of laziness and uncovered strategies to overcome its grip on our lives. From understanding the psychological roots of laziness to implementing practical techniques for improvement, we've delved into various aspects of this pervasive issue. Let's recap the key points discussed. We began by dissecting the concept of laziness, distinguishing it from other conditions, and debunking common misconceptions. Understanding that laziness is often a symptom rather than a character flaw lays the groundwork for effective intervention. Next, we explored the importance of clear goals in combating laziness, drawing on philosophical insights to underscore the significance of purpose and direction in our lives. By setting smart goals and aligning them with our values, we empower ourselves to overcome inertia and strive for meaningful achievements. We then tackled the paralysis induced by overwhelming tasks, incorporating Stoic principles and practical techniques to break down daunting projects into manageable steps. By adopting the Pomodoro technique and embracing challenges, we can navigate complex endeavors with confidence and efficiency. Fear of failure emerged as another significant barrier to productivity, prompting us to embrace failure as a catalyst for growth rather than a deterrent. By cultivating a growth mindset and reframing our relationship with failure, we can harness its transformative power to propel us forward. Poor time management also came under scrutiny, highlighting the importance of prioritization and discipline in maximizing our productivity. Integrating daily habits such as time blocking and reflective practice into our routines fosters a sense of structure and purpose, reducing the likelihood of succumbing to laziness. In the quest to combat laziness, the journey doesn't end with knowledge, it begins with action. I urge you to take these strategies to heart and apply them in your own lives. Whether you're a student striving for academic success, a professional navigating the complexities of the workplace, or simply an individual seeking personal growth, the principles outlined in this video are universally applicable. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It's the cumulative effect of small, consistent actions that leads to profound transformation. Commit to implementing these strategies daily, even when the going gets tough. Embrace challenges as opportunities for growth and never lose sight of your intrinsic worth and potential. Let us heed the words of Winston Churchill: "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." With courage and determination, we can overcome laziness and unlock our fullest potential. So, go forth and seize the day, knowing that greatness awaits those who dare to defy inertia and pursue their dreams.